Good morning. I will now call this meeting to order for our Tuesday, September 20th work session. And we'll start by reading the Who Are We statement. We are the Polk County Leadership Governance Team. If we were to pick one phrase to define us, it would be student-centered, because when we come together to work, we lean on our diverse backgrounds and experiences to ensure that our decisions are focused on providing a high-quality education for all students. The four most important things to our governance team are operating with integrity, respecting our students, staff, families, and each other, establishing a culture where our stakeholders feel valued, supported, and have opportunities for personal and professional growth, support an approach of continuous improvement to ensure student outcomes. Collectively, we need to work on behalf of the children we serve and find avenues of agreement so that we can govern the district in an effective manner. There is no acceptable alternative. We will always collaborate in a respectful manner in order to enhance opportunities for each student and staff member. We will not disparage others. Our students will thrive because we will remain committed to supporting the whole child. We hope to engage and empower our students and stakeholders to create a community of lifelong learners. And with that, I will turn it over to Attorney Bridges to tell us about our attorney-client session.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As you know, the Florida law specifically authorizes school boards to meet in private with their counsel to discuss litigation strategy and settlement negotiations in connection with litigation to which the district is currently pending. I had previously advised you at a public meeting, as the statute requires, of the need for such a meeting, and we have made that advertisement. Today, present at that meeting will be the members of the school board. Mr. Green will be sitting in for Mr. Hyde. I have our counsel, Jeff Sullivan, who will also be present, and I think we'll have Wendy Winchester and Yvonne. Are you in that also? Yes, ma'am, they'll be present. We'll have a court reporter present. The entire conversation will be taken down verbatim by the court reporter, and at the conclusion of the litigation, the transcript will become a part of the public record. But until that time, this is a private meeting, a confidential meeting. It has to take place, the fact of the meeting has to be on the record. The statute requires that it be announced at the public meeting before we recess to do that. But we are prepared to do that at this time. So if you would join me across the hall with our court reporter, we'll go ahead and do that right now.
Groups here this morning, and I was just trying to understand why we didn't allow them to come first and then do the executive session.
I don't know. We had requested to do the attorney-client session first because we had attorneys and court reporters on the clock that we're paying. Right. But if you prefer to do it the other way, we can do that.
No, we can do what you're doing.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
I'm Fred Hyde, Superintendent for Polk County Public Schools. And we have some exciting news about a big change coming to our schools that will help improve learning for our students. This year, Polk County Public Schools will be providing each student with an internet accessible device. The district was recently awarded a $28 million federal grant, which along with other funding is making this a reality. Providing a device to each student, our one-to-one technology initiative, is a very important step for our community. We live in a digital age. To best prepare our students for success in the classroom and beyond, we must provide them with convenient access to technology and help them understand how to use it safely and effectively. Our educators will also be able to develop engaging lessons that take advantage of these devices and maximize instructional time. Using these digital tools, teachers can identify student-specific areas of need and assign the appropriate resources to assist them. Keep in mind that these devices are not the only way that students will be learning. They will still be reading books and participating in traditional classroom activities. Younger students in elementary schools will be issued iPads, and older students at the middle and high schools will have laptops. All students will be able to take their devices home to continue learning outside of the normal school day. Before taking the devices home, students will first learn how to be responsible for them and maintain them. We will also provide information to parents and guardians about proper care of the devices and options for accessing the internet from their home. We will be releasing more information in the coming weeks. Please continue to look for updates on our website, polkschoolsfl.com. Your child's school will also share important updates on this initiative throughout the school year. Thank you.
The pain is there because you're leaving home, which is Philippines,
Right.
but you don't know what's ahead of you, which is already the opportunities that you have. Like, I did not see like these people here are so welcoming. Like, really? Like, I was really like flabbergasted with all
Right.
what happened.
Homelessness is everywhere. You may not be able to see it, and it may not look like what you expect, but homelessness is out there. And within Polk County Public Schools, it affects more than 3,700 students. I'm Ben Roosh, Polk County Public Schools Homeless Liaison, and I'm asking for your help in identifying our students experiencing homelessness, so that we can provide them the services they need to be successful in school and life. When you think of homelessness, certain images probably come to mind. But homelessness can take many forms. According to the federal law in the McKinney-Vento Act, students are experiencing homelessness if they lack a fixed, regular, and adequate nighttime residence. A student may qualify as experiencing homelessness if they are sharing housing with friends or family members, living in a motel or hotel or campground, living in an emergency or transitional shelter, living in their car, park, public space, or abandoned building, living in substandard housing, or living unaccompanied, meaning they are not in the care of a parent or legal guardian and they lack adequate housing. A student can be experiencing homelessness for lots of reasons, from hurricanes and other natural disasters, to house fires, domestic violence, parental incarceration, a death in the family, and of course, economic hardship. No matter the cause or what exactly their circumstances look like, students experiencing homelessness are at a greater risk of not completing their educational requirements. What can Polk County Public Schools do for these students? The school district runs a program called HEARTH, which stands for Homeless Education Advocates Restoring the Hope. In accordance with federal law protecting the educational rights of students experiencing homelessness, HEARTH helps these students enroll in school, stay in their school of enrollment even if they move into a different zone because of homelessness, receive transportation to their school of enrollment, even if they've moved to a different zone. We also provide tutoring service, School readiness items such as uniforms, backpacks, school supplies, and personal hygiene products. Van transportation and bus passes for school-related purposes. Assistance with health physicals, immunizations, vision, and dental exam. Gas, food, and clothing. Whatever our students experiencing homelessness need, we do everything we can to provide it to them. Why am I reaching out to you today? Because our students experiencing homelessness need us now more than ever. The coronavirus pandemic has led to a severe economic downturn, and with the rise in unemployment, studies also predict a significant increase in homelessness. At the same time, more students are participating in remote learning, which may make it more difficult to identify them as experiencing homelessness and provide them with the services they need. If you think you or someone you know may qualify for homeless services, please call 863-457-4709 and visit polkschoolsfl.com/hearth for more information. This pandemic has fractured our society and our economy. Please help us make sure that our students experiencing homelessness don't fall through the cracks. Thank you.
Working for Polk County Public Schools as a bus driver or bus attendant is just a small yet important part of what we do to serve our students. We want to thank all the unsung heroes of our driving force. Our dedicated trainers assist every day with educating new drivers and bus attendants, preparing them to be the best they can be. Trainers shine in assisting new hires to become safe and efficient drivers, and they teach bus attendants the essentials of their daily responsibilities. It's more than a job. Our CPR trainers and instructors teach life-saving skills, keeping everyone's certification up to date with continual training. Trainers help with CDL licensing, making sure candidates know the ins and outs of a bus, preparing them to take and pass the commercial driver's license test. Putting our students' safety first is always our top priority. The transportation team thanks everyone for their hard work and the dedication that they give to make sure the job is done. The training department would not be where we are today if it wasn't for the devotion of our trainers. If you are a dedicated, responsible, respectful, patient person with a positive attitude and a desire to help others succeed, then you are exactly who we are looking for in a trainer. Please contact the training department if you are interested in making a positive difference in someone's life.
When you build a culture where we're always assessing what you know, I want to know, what do you know? I care about what you know.
Right.
Kids are starting to build a culture where they'll walk up to you, let me tell you what I know.
Yeah.
You know, and where did you learn that? Oh, I learned that in third period today. So they're able to recall, because we're always questioning what they learned, but the core of that comes from common planning.
The District 5 School-Related Employee of the Year from Rochelle's School of the Arts, Tiffany Berrien.
My motto is student first, athlete second, because I've been in their shoes before, and I know what it takes now that I'm older and mature. So I just try to instill in them that it's fun to be a kid. It's fun to go to school. It's fun to be around your family. The sports is just an extra tool. I just like to love on them, just be a good mentor and instill leadership, life lessons, something that they could take with them the rest of their life.
She instills grades first before the actual sport. She instills family before the kid. You know, she tries to get that mentality of like, it's not just about you, it's about your last name, not your first name. And I think that's really something that maybe they're not used to hearing. They're all about me, me, me. And she's like, no, step back. It's about your family. It's about your grades. And then it's about what you want to do and what you want to accomplish.
Coach Tiffany is a really great part of our school. She is a tremendous asset at our PE department, in our library, in our cafeterias. She just gets all over the campus and she helps us in so many places. She always does it with a smile on her face, and she's always willing to help out. And if she has to step into a classroom to assist, she is welcomed by the kids, and everybody's always so glad to see her.
She's a good person overall, and she makes me feel good about myself. She makes me want to try harder, stuff like that. She really encourages me to do my best and do better at things. She's a really good person, and I love her personally. I really do. And she's a very important person to me.
I want them to remember me as she's tough, but it's out of love. They know behind the smiles when it's time to get serious. When I go coach mode, PE mode, I'm serious because I know what it takes. And just take that. It's out of love. And one day down the road, you'll understand and you'll come back and say, because of Coach Tiffany, this is why.
The pilot season of the Polk County Public Schools Esports League has come to a close with a fantastic championship tournament. 6 high school teams battled it out in a single elimination bracket, vying to be the first PCPS Esports champions.
Gibson gets the goal!
In the end, it was Frostproof Middle Senior that took the top prize, beating Ridge Community High in overtime.
Frostproof hitting it to the net! Oh! What a finish by Frostproof to win the championship!
I mean, I'm shaking right now.
First ever.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
We've been working all year for this, and we finally made it.
To find out more about our Esports League, visit polkschoolsfl.com/esports.
Academy's really helped me out because it really opened my eyes that there's more than just college. And you don't have to go to college to make a lot of money. Granted, yeah, I work hard, but the payout's good, and the sense of me going home and thinking, well, I made a difference. There's a lot of sense of accomplishment when it comes to trades, and that's one thing I noticed that academies kind of focus on.
When we look at career readiness and we look at the jobs that are out there, over 50% of the top jobs that have openings nationwide are medically related. So when our students come out of our programs, they are ready to fill in all of those sorts of positions. We want them to see that there's something out there for each one of them.
It's not just learning about the energy industry, learn how to write resumes and do interviews. So it's not just about working with your hands, it's also teaching you life outside of school and how to get a job.
So in the very beginning, I wouldn't necessarily start with sharing out like deep emotional things. We would
Yeah.
kind of be like, do you prefer chocolate ice cream or vanilla ice cream? Like it would just be kind of getting comfortable with the routine of talking to your peers. But it definitely helps them chat with each other in a way that builds relationships. I think the kids get to see who is like them and who's not like them, but we're kind of building the ones that are not like you are still part of the class family. How can we get them involved? So they get to really interact with each other and see how they can build a bridge.
I went in thinking, you know, this is going to be difficult. I'm going to be uncomfortable. They're going to make me say things or do things that I'm not comfortable doing yet because I don't have the teaching experience. When in reality, it was laid back but productive because we were still able to have some of these difficult conversations and difficult techniques that might be hard when you're a first-year teacher, but in a productive manner where it wasn't intimidating at all. In fact, it was rewarding.
That name speaks for itself. All teachers, whether you are a new teacher, whether you are a second career professional, whether you are a veteran teacher, whether you are a teacher just somewhere in the middle, whether you teach athletics, whether you teach physics, this is where you will get that understanding of how to directly impact student achievement. And that is so important, and it is so worth your time.
Through Extending Excellence, I was energized with the new strategies and things I was learning with the different programs we were implementing. And Catherine, one of my mentees, showed me different technologies she was using in her classroom, and I was able to share some of the different strategies I've used over the years that have worked. And with that, you're building that bridge from one generation of teachers to the next generation of teachers, and that's so important because we can learn so much from each other.
Because in your first few years of teaching, I mean, it's super overwhelming. Sometimes you feel like you're drowning. So to have someone that's there for you, especially not at your school, I really like the idea of being able to collaborate with, since Polk County is so spread out, collaborating with people that have different ideas, different backgrounds, different demographics at their school to collaborate with and bring to the table.
Just having somebody there to say, hey, I was there, I'm here for you, anything you need, and not feeling so nervous, because sometimes when you go, going to admin is kind of scary sometimes, especially when you're brand new to the school. So having somebody that I felt was more on my level that I could talk to, so I wanted to make sure I was also that for other people.
The biggest impact for me was to see teachers week by week gain that confidence in their classroom and taking that criticism and just really turning it to something beautiful, and then turning it around and taking those risks in their classroom with their students.
It's early morning at Union Academy, but that doesn't slow down the Bluegrass Band as they serenade the gathering crowd in the cafeteria. They're all here to celebrate this man, J.J. Corbin, one of the first black paratroopers in World War II and longtime teacher, coach, and school board member at Polk County Public Schools. In honor of his years of service, Union Academy is naming their media center after Mr. Corbin.
We have a very unique setting here at Union Academy, and it's only based in our history. With Mr. Corbin being here today and us naming the media center after Mr. Corbin specifically, we're putting his name on the building to represent that history.
I want to thank all of my friends who are here for this honor, and I look back and wonder, do I deserve it? I hope that I've lived the kind of life that this honor could be in my name.
To find out more about the dedication, check out our news story at polkschoolsfl.com/news.
Let the celebration begin.
There's a new aura over Bryant Stadium. A new air of anticipation that doesn't come from Lakeland's latest state championship football title. It isn't centered around the legacy of their longtime winning coach.
73-year-old Bill Castle, a champion again.
It derives from something much smaller than all that. An idea that rippled under the bow of the mighty Dreadnought. It was September 28th, midway through last season, when the team faced the Bartow Yellow Jackets and the Dreadnought Wave crested for the first time.
Well wishes from our Dreadnought family to yours.
At the end of the first quarter, the announcer announces that we are going to stand, light your cell phones, and we are going to wave to the pediatric unit on the 6th floor of the Carol Jenkins Pavilion. And they're in their windows with their cell phones, kids are waving, parents are waving, and we're all waving back. It's just quite an emotional experience, actually.
I thought it was awesome. We all stayed just so we could see that happen, because it was amazing. But seeing the fans join in with the team, and both teams and the cheerleaders, was just, didn't expect that. To see just how they looked up to the children and did their lights, and it was like a tear moment.
It's fun to look back at the stadium and see all the fans with their lights and, everybody waving up to the stands. It's a great moment in the heat of the battle of a football game where everybody comes together for something other than football. Everybody's received it and everybody's really enjoys it, and we've just been fortunate that this has been a part of our program. Our players, they've really bought into it. They really enjoy going up to the hospital, visiting the children right there, engaging with those kids. And it's two things. If they can make one kid smile and give him a brief moment of forgetting about his problems, it's really worth it. But I think the players get as much or more out of it in seeing those kids and realizing how, they've been blessed, and it's just been a great part of our program.
I think that having to see people hospitalized is a humbling experience in a lot of ways. And these young men are growing up and learning what real life is all about. And I think that this is, a great lesson for them to see how impactful a positive attitude and a positive influence on people can be. And you can really see it in the looks on the kids' faces and just in the interaction with the families.
Whether they're a big-time wide receiver scoring touchdowns or whatever they're doing on the field, they always say one of their best memories was being able to go to the pediatric unit and see those kids. And for whatever phenomena it is, whatever 3 players we take up to that pediatric unit, they have the game of their life that night. And they say they're playing for the kids. It's really touching to them. Some of them have had to be patients in the pediatric unit before, but they really make a connection with those kids, and they see those kids struggling with feeding tubes and surgeries, and so they just want to come out and play harder for them. And they really are very touched. It's kind of an emotional thing for them to be able to go up there, see those kids and say, don't worry, I'm gonna get one for you tonight, be watching. And those kids will stand in the window the whole game, watching the game. They make a connection with those kids.
Well, everyone in town is such a huge fan of the football team, so there's an air of excitement within the pediatric unit. Any distraction that can take away from some of the scary stuff that our pediatric patients are dealing with, I think is just a great way for the community to help support our children.
If you'd like to participate in Lakeland's newest tradition, you can join the Wave as the Dreadnoughts open their season against the Kissimmee Osceola Cowboys. When a few pint-sized fans, some too young to hold a ball, can cheer, knowing the first score is for them. To see the team's complete schedule, visit lakelandfootball.com.
My name is Paul Peterson. I am an art teacher at Southwest Middle School, and for the past 5 years or so, we've been making skateboards in my class. I remember the Polk County School Board mission statement a few years ago talked about rigor and relevance. And what I found in 20 years of teaching, that the kids are learning all these skills, but they're not able to apply them in a relevant way to where they are right now. So by making the skateboards, they're able to incorporate the math, science, and artistry of taking a raw material to a finished product that they can go out and actually physically use.
At Southwest Middle School in Lakeland, Florida, art teacher Paul Peterson dives into the art of fusing academics with woodworking and design, re-sparking vocational and academic skills that had previously faded. There's always a beginning to any endeavor, and Mr. Peterson started less than 5 years ago.
In 2014, Lakeland was a sponsor city for InnoSkate, and that year we hooked up with creativeskate.org, and we made about 50 skateboards.
With the will and a way to do so, Peterson regularly involves his students in the physical process of making skateboards, making it a fun and educational experience for everyone.
I work with the kids and we design what kind of skate they want to ride for the type of riding they want to do. And we get Baltic birch ply, which is a hardwood that's cut down to a 1/16 of an inch, and we layer 9 layers of them together in a 12-ton hydraulic press. All right, I need your help, guys, because you always, every time you glue something, you got to do sound effects, and since we're on film, ready? Oh! That takes a very thin, relatively flimsy piece of wood and allows us to put curves in it, and by layering so many layers together, it'll support the weight of a full-grown adult.
While standardized testing and feature readiness have become a dominant focus in schools today, Mr. Peterson's vocational involvement gives light to the dynamic importance of applying real-world knowledge. His methods raise the standards for student achievement and instills fundamental basics of history, math, science, and even economics.
I want to keep making them because I want to keep writing them, honestly. It's just a fun thing to do. It gets a lot of students really interested in my subject matter rather than just getting put in an art class that they may or may not be too interested in. At this age, a lot of my students are less concerned about the classics, the Greeks and the Renaissance, but you talk skateboards, hot rods, and graffiti, they're loving it and they're learning the same skills with perspective, color, shading, and so on. And once I get them hooked, then I can bring in a little bit more of the history of where all these skills came from.
This is my board. I painted it with zombies. It probably took me about a week or 2 to paint this.
This one right here is one of my favorites. Her name is Taylor Haynes. She did this, I believe, her 6th grade going into her 7th grade year, so she is about 12 when she painted this skateboard.
Once the kids finish designing, cutting, and painting their board into a final product, they finally get to experience what it's like writing something entirely of their own creation.
We kind of have like a freedom to do kind of whatever we want on the boards. Of course, you're not painting on paper or drawing on paper. It's a little different, and if you know how, you can write it and kind of be proud of what you've done.
What I found with my students is it really seems to empower them to go out and earn the money to participate in the program themselves rather than asking mom and dad. And the beauty of it is no 2 skateboards are exactly alike.
They work collaboratively in groups, discovering their own talents, intelligence, and self-confidence. All vital ingredients to building a better future of role models, one skateboard at a time.
Ian starts right now.
At Polk County Public Schools, we proudly put students first, from the first day of preschool to graduation and beyond. For high school students with disabilities who need just a little extra help, our staff gets them access to the world of work and on-the-job training outside of the classroom even after they've graduated with our Transition Services program.
They have them at some high schools, and then there are about 5 off-campus sites. All of those deal with students who have graduated from high school, they've deferred their diploma, and they still need a little extra help, so we can take them through their 21st birthday and provide that assistance.
Sandy Harper and her transition program at the district office recently partnered with the RP Funding Center Transition Program to hold a session of mock interviews for their students with real employers.
You know, we do a lot of practice stuff in the classroom. What we were trying to get them practicing with people they don't know. We felt like that was as real world as we could get to a true interview to give them the practice.
All right, what work experience have you had?
I've worked at Papa John's assembling pizza boxes, working around like doing dishes, cleaning. The mock interviews were helpful for me because when you go ask for a real job, you gotta know the questions and pick up fast and don't hesitate. And when you have a job, keep on going. Do your best and give it everything. Give it your best shot.
I think it's a great benefit to give them experience in the interviews for when they go out of transition and get jobs. Their strengths, I see, they're personable, where they can get along with other people. They seem to be able to manage their positions that they hold currently at the RP Funding Center and at the district office very well.
After the interviews, Sandy goes over the rubric with her students to help them know how to improve for a real interview.
Okay, this one says he needs to add more work experience with his family and the paint company.
They don't understand the world of work if they've never participated in it. And the young people who have had the opportunity of participating in transition, they've been able to have that experience.
Our transition programs even take it a step further by having students go into local businesses and gain working experience.
Being a transition program, we go from high school to the world of work and also being on their own as much as possible. Part of the day is spent going to career experience. That basically is an internship, you could say. We go to Lakeside Village and also to the Sun and Fun properties, and they work in different areas, different businesses as the years progress.
When they start working, you realize that their skill level is much higher than you've even given them credit for. I also am amazed by their compassion and their unconditional way of living. They usually don't complain about anything. They come in and they're happy to work and they're happy to do it. And they never say they can't. They usually don't say, we can't do this. They're usually willing to try something even if maybe they're not so great at it.
Well, I'm grabbing a napkin, knives, and forks. Then I do that. It's fun to do it. It's really fun. Either I wanna do bagging at Publix or work here for one of my jobs if I ever get one.
Well, they go in, they know exactly what they need to do. They start their job without asking the boss. They just go in and start doing everything that's on their list, and when they're finished, they are trained to ask for more work to do, and they do ask for more work to do. And then if they run out of something, sometimes I'll go to the boss and I'll suggest something. He'll go, oh yeah, let's try that.
So far we've had 4. They're all really hard workers. They all take direction very well. They're constantly looking to learn new things. So it makes it easy from my perspective to coach them along and things like that. Honestly, I wish that when each student's done with their semester and the program's over each year that we could hire more students, but sometimes we have been able to hire one, and he's worked out really well. And he'll be here for a long time, I think, as long as he wants to be. So.
We actually hired someone out of the program. He's no longer with us now, but I hired him. I was paying him, he came in, and he worked 2 days a week. And I would be glad to talk to other businesses, because I think what happens is they're nervous, they don't really know, they don't have any experience with it. They probably think, hey, I have to babysit, but that's not it. You show the team or these kids, you show them a couple times and they're golden. Honestly, Ivan does such a good job. He comes in, he knows what he has to do, he does it, and then he comes and finds me and we go look, and if he has questions, he asks. So I mean, it's pretty awesome.
Another success story from the transition program is Ryder, who has been working at Grillsmith at Lakeside Village for 5 years, thanks to his time in the transition program.
Having a job, and for me, is being more independent for myself. I don't have to rely on my mom and dad driving me here and picking me up. I can get my own rides. I'm more independent now, so I can do the things that I want to do and save money for what I do with my family.
The transition programs of Polk County Public Schools prepare students to be successful in the workforce and shows the businesses of Polk County the talent and drive of our students with disabilities.
We're always looking for the students to learn and gain experiences. However, what I often see is that people that are working in the businesses probably learn more from our students and have a better understanding of their capabilities and what students with disabilities can truly do. The students that we work with are reliable, they really want to work, and they'll probably be some of the best employees for different business owners throughout our district.
I want employers to know I'm very good at being a janitor. I can clean, I can make windows shine, and make sure the carpet is clean.
The benefits go kind of unnoticed during our busy season because they're doing their thing every day. But when it comes to summer and they're not here, you can see it, it's day and night. The outside's not clean, our windows are smudged because they take care of those kind of things. It's a regular thing for them, and they're incredible. They keep this place looking amazing, and I don't think that they get the appreciation they deserve because they do it without question every day, day in and day out, and this place looks fantastic because of them.
They put 125% into it, and I actually get to see joy come out of them. They get to learn, and they're actually learning new things. So when they come in the door on Wednesdays and Fridays, they're excited to get to work, and that's what brings me joy and happiness, is to see that they're actually learning and they're excited to do it.
To learn more about our transition services or to partner your business with a program, go to our website at polkschoolsfl.com/ESE.
Polk County Public Schools uses the Mindful Schools Grant to introduce social emotion learning through the rhythm of drumbeat, a positive behavior intervention program now in place at 6 targeted schools. In 2018, we followed Wyatt to learn more about the impact this program is having on students and their families.
Well, the difference between a music class and drum beat is the fact that in music class we don't really talk to each other or really, just do as much stuff except for play our instruments, but in drum beat we work together in a community, we learn leadership, we build friendships, and that's a really big difference there.
Wyatt in drum beat, he is always super helpful. He's always the one who wants to set up the chairs, wants to make sure every chair has a drum, and he's always greeting you with a smile. The stuff he would say in group would lead to the most amazing conversations.
Oh yes, I have seen that. Have you seen the new TV series they came out with? The drum beat program to me is just sort of an escape route. If you're one of those fidgety kids, it's a good thing to do. We've been at it for around 6 or 8 weeks. And it's just a fun thing to do. You get to work together with people you thought you don't know or thought you might never like, and then it just turns out to be that these people might just become really good friends. People that I thought I would never, want to be friends with. Yeah. Turns out that they're actually really cool people. That's logical. Logic.
Like in week 5, we were talking about feelings. And he said, okay, but what do you do when somebody is up in your face about something they said you did and you didn't do? And it was this, he brought this up and it became this marvelous discussion piece because all the other kids in the room had had a similar experience. And when you start to realize, man, we are more alike than we are different, it's like they all kind of take another look at each other and go, okay, all right. We are more alike than we are different.
And it's interesting because where would they get that information? And we know key to students' resiliency and success is that the more activities and the more people that they have, the more people they can call to when they're going through a difficult time. So learning where your space is in the community and how to get involved, because at middle school, that's a difficult time. And if you are reserved and afraid to take a chance, sometimes we just need encouragement or have a friend say, hey, why don't you come with me this afternoon to drum beat? Or let's go to track together. And hear that that's okay. And so students get to see a greater part of what school's all about.
Hey, Grammy! I wonder if what I plan to do is actually going to work out one day.
The main thing is the main thing, what that is, right?
Uh-huh.
It's getting your education.
Wow. Yeah. Hey, Squirt! I will, Grammy. There's a lot of stuff. Don't touch it, you'll break it. You'll break the fabric. The things I'm able to express is sometimes I get into arguments with my brothers and I'm just really fed up with it. And drum beat really helps me calm down and stuff. And if I'm feeling upset about something, it, cheers me up.
You can definitely see where instead of instantly reacting, especially with his younger brother, he tries to take a breath, tries to cool down before he reacts so fiercely with him. Now, more so than before.
Hold on. If you stop talking, all problems in the world will be solved.
No, we're all hungry.
Yes, that will be solved if you never talk again.
What I've noticed most is he's been more talkative to me and opening up to me more about issues and things that's going on. And when they open up to us, of course, it allows us to be able to help them and talk to them.
I was scolding him about something and he was standing at the sink and he had his hands kind of behind him and he's just drumming on the countertop, and he's looking at me, listening to what I'm saying. He's just trying so hard to not be like, "Urgh!" and he didn't. And I was like, what are you doing? And he's like, I learned it in drum beats and I'm just listening to what you're saying. For him to have that tool to be able to sort of step back and look at it and slow down and say, I can choose. I can choose to be nice about this, I can choose to be mean about this, or I can choose to just extricate myself from that. I just really feel like it's invaluable that they know that they have the option.
Welcome to Electrathon, a competition in design and engineering where builders race their own electric vehicles. And it's not just for the pros. High school students across the Bay Area race to compete, including teams from right here in Polk County. And there's one class which propels towards lanes without limits.
My name is Freddie Beck. I'm the treasurer and publicist for electrathonoftampabay.org, which is a nonprofit group that was put together basically to be able to offer school students that were in STEM programs such as auto mechanics, computer science, engineering, an opportunity to apply their academic learning to a practical hands-on STEM application.
STEM and Electrathon are hand in hand. You got to design the car, you got to build it, then you have to sit there and make sure it runs and it's safe.
The competition paves the way for students to enhance skills in math, algebra, physics, computer science, and business management.
It was STEM before we knew about STEM.
Electrathon founder Ken Fialos realized its application to STEM students, so he brought the competition to life in 2008.
For one, it was relatively economical. It had the allure of being for every child.
It wasn't long after that, Electrathon of Tampa Bay drew in teachers seeking real-world experiences to line up with classroom curriculum.
We just went to our schools and we talked to teachers who were really interested in a hands-on approach to STEM, and it just took off from there.
Mulberry High School's engineering teacher, Todd Thuma, saw the opportunity and knew he had to take it.
First one's third, second one's second, third one's first, fourth one's first, fifth one's first. Knock on wood, we keep doing that. We're trying to form an umbrella academy between automotive and engineering and robotics. And I thought our work with Electrathon would be a great way to bring engineering and automotive together.
The race tests technical skills, leadership, and luck.
So if we can beat 86, then we'll be okay, I guess.
We're not going to beat 86 in the first race unless somehow we pull out 10 laps out of us.
Why don't we swap out people?
So everybody can get a chance. It doesn't matter if we win or not.
I'd rather just everybody.
It's.
I understand it.
Oof! There we go! There we go!
Let's go.
You guys good? You guys need any help? Okay. I think he just literally shot his battery right now. I can't laugh. It's bad.
Mulberry, Simmons, Brooks, and Leonard. Mulberry had 88 laps, and they won the first heat.
What goes on through my head behind the wheel? Watch my mirrors, and I'm okay. I'm okay. And just breathe.
There's all kinds of things that come into play to make a competitive car. You can only run one set of batteries in one race.
They decided to put the batteries on the side so it evens out the weight, because one of the biggest problems we had with the other car was the weight distribution.
I'm worried about the turns for the race, because you take a turn too sharp, you spin out, you flip.
Part of that design is aerodynamics and rolling resistance. The cars all have electronic motor controllers on there that can be programmed. The gear ratios are different, the driving techniques are different, the battery management is different.
I'm just hoping that we don't pop a tire again.
Popped tires, flipped vehicles, and engine failures challenge drivers on the track. But for the Mulberry team, conflicts are always seen as opportunities to grow.
I've seen improvements in some of the children's lives because they were able to belong to something. They didn't have to be 6'3" and run the 40-yard dash in 10 seconds. They could be part of something. So I did see kids open up and blossom.
You learn by through adversity, through problems.
When we lose, we like, okay, so what went wrong and how do we fix it?
We basically adapt.
We don't really have to win to have fun. I recently have gotten onto the team, but even then, they weren't what they are now. Now they're more communicative and they work together. They don't argue like they used to.
The passion that I have for doing all of this kind of started with this class.
I didn't know anything about this class or anything. I just kind of got thrown into it. And I heard about this class and I thought it was a really good opportunity, so I took it.
Then I started thinking, well, if I can learn the hardest part of the car, I can just make my own car.
Since my first race, I believe I have grown as a person by doing stuff step by step and doing it fast and efficiently.
I believe that they can bring it from a hobby, from a once-a-month Saturday thing to like a professional tournament type of thing. I really believe that they can do it because they're getting better every time they do it.
I want to make my own car and going into the open league so I can continue this, but on the adult level.
We've got 2 or 3 of our racers are former students from our high schools who are now racing again as open class grown-ups. So it had to have been fun or they wouldn't have come back.
The skills and knowledge gained in competition push students to become the industrial athletes of the future. And now, the Mulberry team is that much closer to passing class industry certification exams that will expand opportunities in technical trades and professional careers. And all their hard work has opened new doors for bigger opportunities in the future.
Next year will be our first year with Engineering 3, and so we will actually do some of the things that we need to do to build a car next year in Engineering 3. We bought this one with the intention of using this to help build our next one. We want to run 2 cars. We're going to give the loaner over to George Jenkins.
So not only will they have the means to build their own car by the next school year, but they've just received word that they're being invited to the big show at Daytona International Speedway.
I'm part of something called the Great American Celebration of Speed, and that's going to be at the world-famous Daytona International Speedway. As part of our event, we're inviting the great sanctioning bodies of the world. Everybody's familiar with NASCAR and Indy and the Rolex cars, and Formula One, and Formula E, which is electric cars.
They're also inviting Electrothon. Here they will be able to immerse themselves into the world of racing and listen to symposiums led by iconic figures in the industry.
This is something very, very special to us because we're looking towards the future. You take Mulberry High School and the things I've learned about it. Here's kids sitting at home playing video games. You guys are out there doing things. You're the future of it.
A future generation getting their start right here. And as aspiring students, like those in Mr. Thuma's class, search for new open lanes, they can someday look back and remember the place that started it all. One facet, one race, one lesson at a time.
Class of 2018, please rise.
Haines City High cheered on a pint-sized student at graduation this year, 2-year-old Abel joining his mom Maria Hernandez. Abel's been a part of Haines City's on-campus child care program since his infancy.
He woke up with me every morning. A baby of 3 months shouldn't be having to come to school and waking up early in the morning, and I feel it's a big thing for him too, you know? Open the door. He came to school every day with me, and had to go through everything just like me, tired and frustrated every day. There was days that I was crying in the parking lot. I was crying in the parking lot, wondering like, should I just be done with this? Like, should I just leave, go to work, and I'll just go back to school? And just seeing him like looking at my face, I'm like, why would I leave school and then come back when I can just finish right now?
Oh, Abel's been with us since he was a little baby. A little baby. And he's now in our 2-year-old classroom. And he is a pistol.
Again. Ready, set, go.
The school's free childcare program offered Maria a spark of hope, with on-campus services putting her education within reach. Without it,
I was already living with myself, so that was another big thing. I was wondering how expensive was a baby? How hard was it? Would I have to get another job? I have to leave school. My husband, he's in college, and he had 2 jobs already, so I was wondering how we were going to tumble having a baby, if we would have time for the baby or anything. Abel, I love you more. He'll say, no, me more. I'm trying to give my son a better life. Most moms don't make it through high school even, and it's something that statistics say all the time, saying that once you have a child, you leave school. I didn't want to be that. I didn't want to be another statistic.
Well, Maria's amazing. This is my 3rd year here, so I've known her for 3 years. Now to see her as a senior, what she's accomplished is just amazing. And her dedication to be here every day, her commitment to bring her son to baby hornet care and to come see him at lunch, pick him up after school. Like, her son is truly a student here.
They try to teach him the basics, colors, letters. He's very smart.
Did he start to walk in this daycare?
Yeah.
Did he?
Yeah. He came here at 3 months, and exactly at when he started walking. And I stood there and just watching him, and he grew up here. Basically, this is like his house, because he's been here all his life, every day.
It does help us to build their parenting skills because they're young. So we get an opportunity to be a part of that and helping them as the child grows. There may be questions that they may have, or they may need advice, but that does help us to be able to assist them as well.
The value of having the teen parent program is they understand the importance of graduating high school, and they instill in their own children the importance of graduating high school, because mom did it, so I can make sure or instill in my baby that you can do it as well. Not every girl fits a traditional school setting. Not every girl fits a location here at one of our centers, like Travis Technical College. We've had girls that go into our Fresh Start program. We've had girls that go into our Acceleration Academy. And I believe because Polk County has so many options for these girls to be successful, it is their only option.
She'll say it's hard, to raise a son on her own, to have not only 1 job, but 2 jobs, and to get her homework done, and to come to school, and to go through testing and meet graduation requirements. There's so many things. But every time she said she felt like she couldn't do it, all she had to do was look at her son, and that was inspiration enough that I got to get that diploma and I got to get this done.
The same faces you see every day, they become like family to you. Like, even if not my blood, but they become your family. Honestly, they're taking care of my son, They're taking that responsibility, They give me the opportunity to come to school, and I really thank them every day about it.
For more information about the Teen Parent Program and to discover ways Polk County Public School is putting students first, visit our website at polk-fl.net and keyword search Teen Parents.
Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you on the front row. Superintendent Hyde always yells at me for not slamming it hard enough, so in his honor. We will now come back to our school board meeting, and I will turn it over to Deputy Superintendent Green.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I want to thank our partners. In keeping with the superintendent's initiative, we have our partners here who we'd like to have come forward and do a short presentation for us. I'd like to thank them for being patient as we had our attorney-client session. I know it was long, but we appreciate you being here, and we appreciate the partnership with you. First, we have coming forward Stephen Giordano from Boys and Girls Club. Good morning, and thank you for being here.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for having us. I feel like it's rude to have our back to some of you, and yet I don't know how to forgive me in advance. Thank you not just for having us, but for all the support that we've always enjoyed from the school board. We've opened new sites with your approval. We have had all sorts of equipment that has come from you. We're very, very grateful for the partnership that we have. I'm happy to be here today.
Okay.
So, where can we see this presentation? There it is. How does it get full screen? Is that it?
Yes.
Okay. So we thought we'd just spend a second or two telling you who we are. And I think most of you know that what we do is we help those who need us the most. And so there's 30,000 kids living at or below the poverty line who are at risk, and we aim to get to about 10,000 of them. Currently, we serve about 3,000 of them. For the problems of the community, we address them with academic success, healthy lifestyles, and good character and leadership. It creates great futures for people who don't always know they can have a great future. So since the Boys and Girls Clubs of Polk County merged in 2019, we've opened up new sites. We now have 9 club sites throughout all of Polk County. We've got it pretty well covered. Our newest one is in Fort Meade, we already have 100 registered members there. We have 200 registered members in Winter Haven. We have a waiting list at most of our clubs and opportunity to grow still. And if you don't know, when a Boys and Girls Club opened, lots of people smile. This guy smiles because crime is reduced by 30 to 40%. And of course, parents smile because with loving mentors, they're more likely to graduate high school. And the kids smile because they get to play in games like in triple play. And of course, the community smiles because we provide hot meals in a safe place for kids. We've served 150,000 hot meals to kids over the last school year. Even higher education improves because our programs show that the kids are much more likely to go to post-secondary school when they attend our clubs. The community actually gets a 10x return for every $1 invested in a Boys and Girls Club. $10 is returned, not just because the mostly single mom can work and leave her kids with us, either in the summer at daycare, but in after-school care, but also because the children are more likely to go to programs which produce future tax revenues. So it's a benefit for everybody. And I don't think a lot of people realize all of the things that we offer because they just think that, well, I guess the kids go there and they get warehoused for a while. But it's not. We have mental health programs, we have STEM training, we have Money Matters, we have music expression, reading clubs, and vaccine awareness, teach them how to do peaceful protests and open up new worlds that once opened never shrink back. Which is why we've decided that we're going to reach 10,000 kids per year because we figure if we do that, then we can reach that 30,000 who are at risk. And 10,000 kids per year, every year, creates generations of great futures. Our respective goals are a great fit with the school. As you know that, we have a unique partnership, and we fit together well because we take over from when you drop them off and extend all of the things that you're interested in as you focus on students. I'm going to ask Ashley to speak to a couple of more specifics about that.
So, we're all very aware of the gaps that our kids experience, especially those coming from low incomes. We've heard of the summer slide. Now we also have to deal with the COVID slide. It's no secret that kids from at-risk homes and low-income homes can lose more and more academically with every passing year. And by the time they get to high school, if they make it that far, they're not where we want them to be as far as academics. And, even now we're facing even greater loss and emotional issues because of the COVID pandemic in the last few years. We feel that after-school programs can support that. We can fix that gap. Next slide. So achievement comes from attendance, behavior, and coursework. We feel it all ties together, and we feel that we can build on all three of those areas to support our kids. We focus on academic need. 91% of our kids come from a Title I or a school listed for support currently. We know that attendance at school and after-school programs are vital to student success. We monitor their academic progress. We have a great relationship with the school board, with you guys, and we monitor that data every time those report cards and progress reports come out, and we meet regularly to adjust our program to fit the needs of our students as much as we can. We believe in implementing evidence-based strategies because intentional programming is what our kids need to succeed. And of course, face-to-face. We're doing what we can to make sure that we can keep them in person as much as possible. Some of the programs that we run are Triple Play, Triple Play works with health and wellness and fitness all together. It does meet Tier 1 of what Works Clearinghouse Evidence as a intentional support for students, as well as our Smart Leaders and Smart Moves programs, which works on resiliency training, drug prevention, positive relationships. Positive Action is another program that we run that works to improve behavior through positive behavior supports. Also, Tier 3 of What Works Evidence. But our most important, and I feel like you guys will agree, is our Project Learn. Project Learn ties together 5 different components to help our kids academically. Homework help and tutoring, high-yield learning activities, both of which we try to provide by a certified teacher. Family and community involvement. We truly believe that the parents, the more involved they are, the better the kids are going to succeed. So we provide generally monthly parent resource nights to give our parents some more information and ways to support their kids academically. Of course, our partnership with the schools that we serve and the school board, as well as motivation and incentives. We have the ability to take what they are learning at the school during the school day and go at it a different direction. If a kid needs something a little more hands-on, we can take them out into the garden and do a science lesson in the garden. We can take them on a field trip. We have a little more flexibility to, ignite that love of learning a little bit more and really build on what they're learning during the school day. Next slide. So we also try very hard to leverage the resources that we have, and so it costs about $10 per child per month to be able to support their academic needs, promote their attendance, monitor their progress, and provide these intentional programs to support them in the after-school program. And we do that both during summer and school, so we believe that learning continues during the summer as well. And we believe that our partnership with the school board really allows us to continue what we do and support them because our efforts and our goals are all the same. We want these kids to succeed as much as possible.
I should have mentioned that Ashley is our Director of Grants and has not only been at the Boys and Girls Club for years, I've only been here for 3 years as the president. Ashley predates me, but she is also a club kid, and she has used our services, she has benefited from them, and now she is a leader of our entire grants department and does a spectacular job. Any questions for us? Yes.
I remember visiting the club here at Gibbon Street, and we were doing an open house night to expand the club into another one of our schools or areas. Is there an update on that? Have we done that expansion? Are we looking to do that expansion? I apologize if it's all kind of blended together now. It's been a while.
So we opened Gibbons with a request from a board member who wanted to be there to open a club for his father, who was a youth leader. And we opened with 24 kids. But what Gibbons also did for us, and which was essential that we get from the school board, which we received a tremendous amount of support for, was it had a central kitchen, which meant that all of our clubs could have a food license, which means that we could serve the now 500,000 meals that we served. But we wanted to expand that, get them up to 100, and we are at 100 now. But then beyond that, we suggested that we would open another club right after that, and within 11 months, we opened in Fort Meade.
Fort Meade, that
Yes.
was where I was.
And so
okay.
we got that one open too.
Thank you, that's exciting for that community.
Yes,
Thank you.
absolutely. They opened June for our summer program and are continuing now.
And I'm sure that's a great benefit for the people that live in that area, because it's hard, resources are, less the further out you go. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Any other questions? Yes.
To know how many of your sites are on school board property, and what is the status of your 21st century program?
You want to speak to the second one first?
So as far as 21st Century goes, we have 2 continuation programs through 21st Century, our George Jenkins Memorial site in Winter Haven and our Northridge site in Haines City, which are in starting year 4 of 5. We were just awarded 5 additional 21st Century grants for the next 4 years to serve our Carl G. Shoei site over by Crystal Lake Middle, our James J. Musso in Lakeland, John L. Sanders in Lakeland, Wogan S. Badcock Jr. site in Mulberry, and our Southridge site in Lake Wales.
That's great.
Yes, we are very excited.
So 5 are at school sites right now, but that includes Gibbons, which is an active school, as you know. But 5 of them are there, and 4 of them are off-site in standalone buildings, 3 of which we own.
So the partnership is very strong and very much needed when you look at the grand scheme of things, so that's good.
Yeah, we couldn't, as you know, we could not expand while growing our fixed costs. So we needed a place to go that we could just spend the money on the programs, which is why Gibbons Street was so important to us. And Fort Meade, while it isn't a school, is, has favorable terms that you've offered us at Gibbons.
Great.
So it's wonderful.
Madam Chair, board members, any other questions for our partners from Boys and Girls Club?
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. Thank you for all you do.
So again, thank you for your presentation, and thank you for all the work you do, not only in Polk County, but throughout the country. Boys and Girls Clubs are a great partnership for school systems, but as well as communities, and helping our kids and making them strive. And as a former Boys and Girls Club member, I appreciate all you do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody.
Madam Chair, next we have coming up the United Way, our partners. We have here with us Beth Hill and Rob Crowley. Good morning.
Thank you so much for having us. I'm Beth Hill from United Way. We are so happy to be here. I know our CEO is sad she's not here this morning. She is at the BOCC for a vote that's very important for one of our health initiatives. So we're grateful that we got to come and share with you some information about United Way. Our mission at United Way is to inspire our community to give, advocate, and volunteer by identifying needs and mobilizing vetted resources to create positive local change. That is our mission statement. And United Way and the Polk County Public Schools have had a beautiful partnership. Polk County Public Schools is one of our top 10 supporters, and we feel that we work hand in hand in our community, focusing on positive local change, just like our mission statement says. We know Polk County Public Schools strategic plan goal number 3 is to engage family and community members. And again, our missions line right up there with our strategic plan. And our vision is to unite our community to empower everyone to achieve their full potential. And so I wanted to open with a quote here that I believe encapsulates this whole vision for both of our organizations. And how does United Way support the work of Polk County Public Schools? United Way of Central Florida knows that no one can do their best if they are hungry, sick, or in pain. And United Way believes you cannot help a child without meeting the needs of the family. You cannot help parents without meeting the needs of the children, and neighborhoods are restored one family at a time. And this is a big part of what we do at United Way. We try to serve our community starting one family at a time. And that starts with many of your students in your schools. We're thrilled that we get to support them. So I'm going to introduce Rod Crawley. He is our Chief Operating Officer at United Way. He oversees all of the investments in the community and all of our funding decisions as well as our internal programs, and he will present some more information on how we do that.
Thank you. Thank you for having us here today. So I want to talk kind of about our specific initiatives, of which a lot of them are designed to support the school district and the work you all are doing and to support the children in our community. We have 3 of our 7 initiatives that are directly tied into education. We have early childhood education for those before school age, academic achievement for the school age children, and then we are also one of the core partners at the Community Partnership School at Crystal Lake Elementary, along with Central Florida Healthcare, Southeastern University, Heartland for Children, and Polk County Public Schools. So we were one of the core partners as that started. As the slide says here, in the last couple of years, we've invested almost $6 million in direct and leveraged funds to serve nearly 36,000 students. Additionally, over $1 million has gone straight to the Community Partnership School as we help secure funding for 3 positions over there, as well as work for work through a variety of our partners that provide services there at the school. Education, you can go back there. Education is about 50% of our allocation or investment pool that we put into the community each year. Our other initiatives that we have there make up the other 50%, and those are the health, the basic needs, financial stability programs, as well, and the George Jenkins In Hunger initiative, which started during the right at the start of the pandemic and is serving about 250,000 visitors per year. And one of those food sites is at Crystal Lake Elementary as well. Some of the things that those partner programs support are early literacy, after-school programs, tutoring, mentoring. Boys and Girls Club, who just spoke, is one of our top programs as far as numbers served, as well as where our investment goes. So it's really nice to be able to follow them because they're a great example of fantastic use of our dollars. Homework assistance. There's also some programs that do therapies and support for children with special needs. And just to share, I'm not going to read through these, but just to give you an idea of the programs that we fund and the services that we purchase in the early childhood education area. There's a list of those, and each of the names of the programs that those fund as well. And then in the Academic Achievement Initiative, there's a list of those programs. Boys and Girls Club now has 9 clubs, as was stated earlier. But there's an idea of the different types of programs that we fund through our process and those partners that we have. We're very proud of the partners that we have, the strength of them. It was suggested or projected at the start of the pandemic that 10 to 40% of nonprofits in Florida would close their doors. After going 2 years back, none of our partners closed their doors other than some intermittent closures for short periods of time because of the virus. We also have some internal programs under the Success by 6 umbrella, which was started by Carol Jenkins Barnett. Basically, most of these are related to literacy as well as getting books into the hands of children and families and into households in the community. Reading Pals is a program that we're currently looking for more volunteers for this year. We're closing in on 100 volunteers to fully staff the 14 schools that we're operating in. We'll need 236 volunteers, so, but it's a very impactful program for kindergartners to have someone come in and read to them for an hour a week, 2 half-hour sessions for those children. It's just a very impactful program that's showing great dividends to help contribute to having those children be able to read at grade level by 3rd grade. Dolly Parton Imagination Library is a program that puts a book a month into a child's hands until they reach the age of 5. Parent lending libraries are set up in about 130 child care centers throughout the county, and those libraries are where parents can check out books and have free access to those, and then activities associated with those. And then Master Teachers is a program where we have 2 master teachers that go into child care centers and teach those staff how to organize their classroom, methods of teaching, really within about a 25-day period can help transform the teaching practices of one of those maybe new teachers, somebody that's new to the field. We all know that the child care centers are in a state of crisis right now, finding staff, and then also any assistance we can give to help them has been phenomenal. And we do Peabody testing at the start and end and see phenomenal gains in that as well. Born Learning is some educational materials that are available. That's a program by the Ad Council and United Way, and that's another program that we get age-appropriate developmental things and information into the hands of them. And then Family Fundamental classes. Family Fundamentals, that location downtown at Explorations 5 is moving to Bonnet Springs Park with the Florida Children's Museum. We'll be opening November 4th there at the park. We have a space inside of the museum there, so we're looking forward to moving that. The new name is the Carol Jenkins Barnett United Way Children's Resource Center, and that, like I said, will open November 4th, and there's a sneak peek for leadership givers, which is those who donate $1,000 or more to United Way on October 25th. We're looking forward to a sneak peek for them. And as you can see there on the graphic, we've in the last couple of years contributed over 114,000 books into children in our community through these internal programs, and we're really looking forward to the new center and some of the ways to expand the services even that we've done in the past and provided, and more partnerships there. One of the things that I'm most passionate and proud about with United Way is the way in which we make the decisions of where the dollars go. I think it's really the reason that I and others want to donate to United Way, and that's because of our community investment process. We have almost 100 community volunteers that each year come from all different companies and organizations. We have volunteers from Polk County Public Schools as well that are involved in that every year. But we have those volunteers that serve on teams, and we have teams in education, income, health, and safety net or basic needs, and they help us actually make those decisions. So we have an education steering team that oversees the outcomes and indicators that are put together. We have educational experts that help us to decide what the best outcomes and what tools should be used to decide who's making the most difference in the community and making the impact. And then our process is very comprehensive, reliable, and valid. We have a score sheet. They look through the applications each year. They make a site visit to the site for a day where they go to all the different organizations on their team. So those volunteers serve on a team with maybe 4 to 6 other people and go and visit 4 to 6 programs. And then they get to score those and then make a decision on a pool of funding that they'll receive for their team, and they get to make the actual decision based on what is happening that year with that program. And I think just the validity of that process, to know that we thoroughly look at each and every one of these programs in depth with community volunteers that are very dedicated to the community, and it's just a really amazing process to watch it, and I just feel really good about what we're able to do each year in investing that money in the best way possible. And I'm going to turn it back to Beth.
Awesome, thank you, Rod. One of the things that I'm most passionate about is other opportunities that we've had outside of our internal programming to partner with Polk County Public Schools. I have the privilege of working with the Polk County Public Schools account and with Jeanette directly, and I just get so excited about the ways that we have partnered. And some of those include, for instance, our partnerships with Geico have provided backpacks full of school supplies. They provided a small uniform fund that has helped to provide support funding for parents who may not be able to afford all of the school uniforms required to send their kids back to school. One thing we got to do this year was so exciting was to provide, we had some additional funding, and we found an opportunity to provide breakfast for returning teachers at Tenor Rock High School, at Spook Hill Elementary, schools where they're a little bit further out, a little bit difficult to reach, and they didn't have anything on that first day coming back. And as a teacher, it's nice to show up, and there's, coffee and donuts and a bagel, and, you're welcome back. And so we were able to do those small touches that help to kind of show our appreciation for all of the work that they're doing. And then transportation services we have adopted every year, and when they come back for their in-service training, we do positive picketing. It's a wonderful opportunity for our team to come out. We have all of our pom-poms and bells and whistles, and we welcome everybody back to the first day of school, just as a nice way to show our support for everything that happens. In the past, we've had other programs who've supported. I know as part of that Geico Back to School event, there's been bike helmet fittings, just things that are accessible that would not have been accessible originally. And so this is the beauty of what we can do when we join together and partner in the community. The Tassel Program Partnership was an awesome way for our affinity group, our Young Leaders Society, to join with Emerge Lakeland, Endeavor Winter Haven, and so all of the different communities coming together to serve, provided 3,600 families a touch point with toiletry items, and they sorted and distributed this. And so going forward, we're so excited, like Rod said, about the Carol Jenkins Barnett United Way Children's Resource Center. That's opening this year. That's a huge success for us. We're so happy and so excited about this center. And Women United, our women's leadership givers group, they have adopted Success by Six and early childhood as their focus this year. And so we're excited to see what comes of that, because you cannot stop this group of women from making positive change in the community. And so other partnerships are steadily forming, and we're excited to work with the public schools. And we just want to thank you again for your support. We have a hashtag we use. It's hashtag UWCF loves PCPS. And you'll see that with your campaign starting October 3rd, and it'll run through the end of the semester. We're excited to get that rolling, and thank you so much for your support and for your time.
Thank you. Madam Chair, board members, any questions for our partners from United Way? Ms. Fields?
I don't have any questions as such, but, well, I guess I do have at least one, and then I have comments after that. I know that we have a lot of United Way agency partners. Can you all tell us the total amount of partners that we have?
Yeah, we have, within our 3 counties, we have 47 different agencies, and then 82 programs that we fund within those agencies.
So you all are reaching a lot of counties and a lot of people.
Yeah, Polk, Highlands, and Hardy, yep.
Well, I would just say I'm a little bit biased, but I want to thank you guys for what you do each and every day. And Rod, what you said about the pandemic and the impact that United Way was able to make on agencies is understated, because I think that had you all not really stepped up and found some other ways to find resources for organizations as listed here, as well as the other organizations that you just mentioned, we would have had to reduce our services, and also we would have possibly had to close some of our doors. So thank you all for what you do each and every day, and the impact that you all make in our community. I think sometimes it's really not realized, the impact that you all have. So on behalf of everyone that I can even think of, thank you for what you do, because we never ever know when we're going to be needing the services that you all provide. So I would say great job, keep it up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Cunningham?
Deputy Superintendent Green. I too want to echo my thank you. Having served on the board years ago and done quite a bit of fundraising throughout the years on the east side of the county, to be able to provide all different types of folks financial assistance, your organization has always been there. It's been the rock in our community for as long as I can remember. And during hurricanes, during pandemic, during call it what you will, here's always United Way putting a hand out. And even though your homes were or would be without power or without water, whatever the situation, Your folks come to work and they say, hey, how can we help you? And you've touched countless numbers of families throughout the years. So I too want to say thank you so much for all that you do. And you have a beautiful smile. You light up the room when you came in today. So keep on going. And Mr. Crowley, you do an exceptional job. We appreciate your time and dedication to this organization. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you. And along that line, I did want to mention, because our board told us last week that we don't brag enough, but in April, we received an award from United Way Worldwide as the best COVID response in the southeastern United States out of 11 states. So I just wanted to share that with you all.
Thank you.
Congratulations, and thank you for all your support for Polk County Public Schools and Polk County at large. So we really appreciate the partnership.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, Madam Chair, we're going to have updates for CFAA at both Kathleen and Winter Haven. We have coming forward with us is Steve Cochran. I was going to call you by your whole name, Stephen Cochran.
Good morning. Good morning. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce my guest, who I've asked to come up and assist me with the second part of my presentation. John Helms, the Executive Director of Bartow Airport. So before I get started, I want to mention Mr. Hyde asked me to come and brief the board on some exciting aerospace-related issues that we've been working on in workforce. So first, we're going to talk about the expansion of CFAA. Am I controlling the slides? There we go. All right, so first, the mission statement for CFAA at Kathleen High School and at Winter Haven remains the same. The emphasis will always be on rigorous academics and workforce experience and preparing students for college and career. So, in 2008, John Small, Cecil McClellan, Rick Garcia, the Sun and Fun organization, and others had a vision to create an aerospace program, not just a program to be in the school, but an academy to be located at Lakeland Airport. That vision was realized when the first classes for Central Florida Aerospace Academy were held there in one of the hangars located at the airfield. This was done while they continued to work on finding a permanent home, and through community stakeholders and significant funding from the James C. Ray Foundation, CFAA was built and opened on the property in 2010. Originally, just starting off, the program focused on building pilots and supporting aerospace programs. That was supported with scholarships from the James C. Ray Foundation to pay for flight training. They then expanded into aviation maintenance with collaboration from our very own Travis Technical College. So we built a relationship between the two schools for the success of the students. Next was added avionics, where students could earn a certification to be provided by the National Center for Aircraft Technician Training. That's what NCAT stands for. And we've also expanded into an engineering program which allows students to earn a SolidWorks CAD certification. Now, the needs of the aviation industry are growing, and there are many opportunities for students, especially in the area of unmanned aircraft systems. Students can earn an FAA Part 107 certification to fly unmanned aircraft. We have students right now. There is a female student at CFAA that has her own drone business where she is utilized to fly across real estate and take pictures for a local real estate company. And she is already taking the skills that she's learned and earning her way through the school. Also, we have a relationship with Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University where students can earn a certification in Fusion 360. Fusion 360 is a 3D software that allows students to design and build actual aircraft components, and it allows them to test those components virtually. Looking at the growth of the Kathleen Central Florida Aerospace Academy, you can see that it is robust. It continues to grow each year. It continued to grow through the pandemic, and we are looking forward to it growing again next year. Also, adding this year, we added an additional pathway at CFAA Kathleen in aviation management, and we've added a pathway in digital art, which will allow the students who are already utilizing the drones to take pictures and to format those pictures and work on those images that they're collecting. I went to the CFAA Kathleen graduation this year, and I was astounded. It was remarkable, with so many students going off to great colleges, some already in their own businesses, some earning industry certifications and going right to work. But I was really taken aback when 2 students had, from that academy, earned their way into service academies. And that is pretty unusual. It's pretty unusual for one large high school to get a student to go into a service academy. And here there were 2, one going to West Point and one going to the Aerospace Academy, or going to the Air Force Academy. Our student graduates, and it's not, although it's astounding, it's not unusual. We have graduates working as NASA engineers, airplane pilots, NOAA mechanics. We even have a graduate that has their own business located on the premises of the Lakeland Airport. So the students from this academy are going on to great things. So we've got great things going on there. Let's do another one. And that was, we looked at Winter Haven High School. And let me start off with, we looked at the population of Kathleen CFAA and where the students were coming from when they attended. Majority obviously coming from Kathleen, Lakeland area, Bartow, Mulberry. The further that you got away from the airport, the less students were attending from the Ridge area. So in the interest of equity, Ms. Bird approved a aerospace program at Winter Haven High School in 2019, and the first 5 classes were serving 161 students. So right now at Winter Haven Airport, we have placed 5 portables and a portable restroom as the seed for the Aerospace Academy to be located directly at Winter Haven Airport. And I think that this goes right along with the mission of Central Florida Aerospace Academy, which is to provide workforce experience, and there's no better place for those students to get workforce experience than to be learning about aerospace at the airport. As I said, the 5 portables are there. They're working on hooking up the electricity now. We're going to need fencing there, but we're still on, I think we're still on track to have this open during the fall. The enrollment for CFA Winter Haven, while it was a little stagnant during the COVID period, it really shot up this year and is very healthy, almost 250 students enrolled in the program. Looking to the future, on the Winter Haven CFAA, we plan on adding aerospace engineering and aviation management. Already, many of the students have completed their private pilot's license. They are also eligible for the James C. Ray Scholarship that serves both campuses. Graduates are continuing to pursue degrees in engineering and aviation education at many of the local colleges. And they've also got an aspiring aviators club as CFAA Kathleen does. And those are very important, those after-school activities in club, and continuing allow students to practice the skills that they've learned in the classroom. On closing, we want to point out that these programs are for every student. And traditionally, aviation has drawn a lot of male students. We are looking at trying to expand those opportunities for our female students and for our minority students. So tracking our equity data at Kathleen High School, you can see that in 2022-23 school year, we've made significant gains in attracting female students and in minority students. And I want to point out that Winter Haven High School has also done an exceptional job, especially in attracting the female students to the field. So we took this opportunity and through some great work by our public relations department to sort of do a slight redesign to the CFAA logos and making them unified, but also unified in look, but individualized for each campus. You can see that the CFAA Winter Haven has their school colors of blue and yellow, and we also added the name of the high school underneath it. As it was pointed out to us before when CFAA was developed, it wasn't necessarily in the logo attached to the high school. So we've corrected that mistake. And if you look at the CFAA Kathleen, it's in their school colors, and we've added the high school name underneath so that each school or each student that goes there will know what school is their home school and the school that is the start of this program. Okay, so before I go on to my next topic, I will take questions. I see Ms. Watt has a question.
Yeah, Madam Chair, board members, any questions for Mr. Cochran?
Yes.
Madam Chair.
First, I am so excited that we decided to go with the high school names instead of East and West. I think that it really keeps those students plugged into their school spirit. It's amazing. We're interviewing kids for Youth Leadership Winter Haven right now, and that's the number one thing that all of our students have talked about is that they feel like there's a lack of school spirit coming out of COVID. So I appreciate that we're looking for ways to keep them engaged. My one question on the logos is, could we put Winter Haven High School instead of Winter Haven Senior High? Because that's not what they go by typically. So that just food for thought. I don't know how the school feels about it, but I know our students don't typically refer to it as Winter Haven Senior. Everything's WHHS, so that's my.
I will ask Mr. Geary about that at the break.
I appreciate it. The other question I had just is, do we have an update on the portables for Winter Haven High School aviation? Because last I heard they were there, but they were being hooked up. Do we have any?
That is what you've heard is the last update.
Is the last update,
The
okay.
portables are there, and they are working on hooking them up.
Do we have any idea when they might be ready for students to occupy them?
Ms. Usher, Ms. Usher, do you have any updates on those portables?
Oh, she's going to take that seat.
The portables are on site, the 5 classrooms and the restroom. Our staff is working right now in putting in the infrastructure, the water lines. Then after that, we have to put in the stairs and ramps. We're hoping for the second week in October to have them ready.
Perfect, thank you. And I just want to give a huge shout out to the city of Winter Haven because they really have gone above and beyond to make sure that this could happen, but they've put in a tremendous capital investment on their end to get the site ready, make sure there's sidewalks and accessibility and all of those things. So I know Alex Bacha and his team have worked really hard on making that happen. So I just want to give them another shout out.
Very true. And let me also mention the hard work that Steve Warner did on helping to facilitate that too.
Yes, thank you.
Ms. Miller?
I just want to say I appreciate the concentrated effort. When I first started visiting CFA, I recognized, and it was told by one of the teachers there, that there's not a lot of girls interested. You know, we're trying to get more students there. But working on diversity in general, are we going to the elementary and middle schools? Or are we just working with the high school students? Because I know, talking to elementary schools, some of the students and parents have no idea these two things exist. So I don't know how far ahead we're working with students so they can get excited about the opportunities.
That is a great question, and we are working with the middle schools to develop more pre-aerospace academies. We have one very successful one at Sleepy Hill Middle. There are 2 other schools that have expressed an interest in developing them. I don't want to mention them at this time, just in case things change. But there are 2 other middle schools that are in the area that are very interested in developing middle school academies. Additionally, I'd like to say that last year, to generate interest in aerospace, we brought in the Flying Classroom, which is an organization that brings lessons into the classroom once a week, STEM lessons that focus around aviation. It is a very high engagement program. We had it at the elementary last year. This year, we're focusing on 3 middle schools, Mulberry, Sleepy Hill, and Kathleen, who are partaking in these lessons. I want to mention that the organization, the Flying Classroom, was started by a pilot named Barrington Irving, who at the time, this was years ago, was the youngest man to fly around the world solo. Right now, he still is the youngest African-American to fly around the world solo. He created this business. It's out of Miami. We have a fantastic relationship with him. He not only is the owner of the company, but he's also sort of the face of the company, and he is very involved in student and parent engagement. So he'll fly in, do parent engagement activities to get the parents realizing about the opportunities in the aviation industry and in aerospace. So we're very pleased with that relationship, and we hope to continue it again next year. But we are working on developing that interest at the elementary and middle school level.
And we'll be able to expand that to the Winter Haven areas.
That's what I'm looking for next year, Ms. Miller.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, board members, any other questions for Mr. Cochran? Ms. Fields?
I want to thank you all for coming today and making your presentation, and thank you for bringing the historical perspective of the Aviation Academy in Lakeland. And I think that sometimes that gets lost, and that it is important that it is realized that the Aviation Academy for the CFAA is an umbrella of Kathleen High School, and I think that's gotten lost, unfortunately. And also, I think that when we look at the history, thank you for mentioning John Small and Rick Garcia. They were both very instrumental in the concept. And the superintendent at that time was Dr. Gail McKenzie, who's no longer with us. And I think that her name somehow needs to be included in the historical perspective going forth. But I want to thank you all for working hard to make sure that it's understood that the Central Florida Aviation Academy is an umbrella of Kathleen High School. And the reason it was created is to enhance and to attract more students that otherwise might not come to Kathleen High School as a part of them having that option.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
So thank you very much for that.
Okay, Madam Chair, board members, any other questions for Mr. Cochran? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to the next item, which is also Mr. Cochran, and that's air traffic controllers.
All right. Okay. The Air Traffic Control Academy is in its infancy. And by that, I mean that we are in discussions with an organization called the Washington Consulting Group about bringing an air traffic control class to the Bartow Airfield. Why air traffic control? Well, currently there are only two main pathways to be an air traffic controller, through the Federal Aviation Administration or through the military. Polk County Schools is working with these key partners to develop a 10-month technical program offering a traditional and remote digital tower training. There's a significant need for air traffic controllers. There's a significant need for almost everything in the aerospace industry right now. So we are actually, the expansion that we're doing and the possibility of this program are really timely for Polk County. Our key partners, I have one right here with me today, the Bartow Municipal Airfield, the Washington Consulting Group, of course, the Workforce Education Department, and underneath that, but still important to this program, Travis Technical College. How this relationship could work is the Washington Consulting Group will bring in the expertise. Of course, they're building their relationship right now with Bartow Municipal Airport. But they will bring in their expertise, the technology. They will hire the air traffic control instructors. And Travis Technical College, students will be enrolled through Travis Technical College into this program. We will oversee the curriculum. We will act as the administrative agency in this relationship with the Washington Consulting Group, and they will provide all of the instruction. It's very similar to the arrangement that Polk State has with their flying instructors at the Bartow, at the Lakeland Linder Airport. That is through a contract. It is a Polk State program, but it's actually provided by another agency through a contract. So we will have a similar relationship with them. This program, I want to say, nothing has been signed. We are continuing to talk. Things are looking very favorable for the development of this program. I also want to emphasize that it will be an adult program through the technical college, but we've already started some discussions about building pathways at the high school level, which will give students a leg up if they wish to apply for the aerospace program, or for the air traffic control program. Okay, and I brought John up here, not just for moral support, but John, do you want to add anything to the development?
Sure. Thank you for taking the time to listen to us and me this morning. I do want to throw out, completely unrelated to this project, but just from the inside the industry, because I'm not sure how often you hear it, the benefit that CFAA has brought to Polk County overall. It's an amazing program. Also at Bartow, we have a Bartow Flying Services, which is owned by Bartow Airport Authority, provides flight training, and we have quite a few James Ray Scholarship students that are with us from multiple schools, but a large percentage of those come from CFAA, and we always recognize them when they come through because they usually come in for their lessons with their CFAA uniform shirts on. And the students that come through, their level of commitment is just incredible. They're doing a wonderful job there, and really helping our industry with putting pilots and seats and other aviation professionals into the field. So I don't know how often you hear that from inside the industry, but being an industry guy, I feel like I wanted to throw that out there because it's just an amazing program. I wish there was something like that when I was growing up and in school. Getting back to this project, so Polk County is also unique in that we have 4 general aviation airports in the community that are very active. Bartow in particular has something that is very limited in ability across the country in having a privately managed air traffic control tower. So we refer to it as a non-federal control tower, or an NFCT. And we've been hearing for years now the shortages in aviation maintenance and pilots are the most popular positions that you hear about in the shortages. But what you weren't hearing about is shortages throughout the rest of the industry. They weren't very in line. And what we found through having a non-federal control tower and all of the air traffic controllers being employees of the Airport Authority, that we were having difficulty recruiting controllers, and there just didn't seem to be enough out there, and limited prospects for training controllers. And that brought up the conversation about potentially doing some air traffic control training or creating a certification program, which ultimately culminated in the beginning of this project. So there really are a lot of shortages in air traffic control. Polk County is perfectly staged. There are only 2 NFCTs, or non-federal control towers, in the state of Florida, Bartow being one of the 2, and the other being limited to use for commercial aircraft overhaul facilities. And that's important because through the FAA control towers, they don't authorize training outside of their own organizations at those towers, and through the federal contract tower program, they also don't allow that. So it's not easy to set these types of programs up, and we just happen to have the right location to be able to do that. That started a lot of conversations and what ultimately led Washington Consulting Group to coming down and talking to us. So we're pretty excited about the prospect. On the technical side, I can answer any questions you might have about the program and where it's at. We're hopeful to have a more defined project before you very soon.
Madam Chair, board members. Ms. Cunningham?
Thank you, sir. Question. In looking at it, when you're designing the academy, right? So would you then, when they come out of the academy, then they would go on further to complete whatever education they need to become an air traffic controller? Or how do you, what's the pathway? I'm not quite, because that's very technical, obviously, and looking at the salary there, I went in the wrong field. Just teasing. It's wonderful. I'm just trying to understand, because I have people that I know that might be interested, and would they attend the academy, which would be, I know it's in the beginning stages, infancy, but what is your goal? To graduate them as a senior with a certificate of some sort that they take and further with post-secondary education? Help me understand the whole process.
Let me emphasize, and I'm sorry, I should have put this up front, but this is an adult program. This is strictly for adults. What we have discussed, once we get that fully developed,
yes,
is building pathways at the high school.
Got it.
So that they will lead to being in that program.
Got it. Okay, now I understand better. Thank you so much for clearing that up.
Ms. Fields?
I think this is exciting, and the opportunity, 10 months, and they can become certified to be an air traffic controller. Am I understanding that correctly? And so my question is, will these classes be during the day, in the evening? Is there a cost attached to it yet, or are you all still working through all of that?
Well, a lot of that will be worked out, but I think it is projected that it will be a daytime class. And it will be, I believe it was 800 hours required to complete. So I'm sure, though, that there are, since it's an air traffic control class, they'll be during daytime hours, but I'm sure that they will be asked to do some classes in the evening because, not all activity takes place during the day. So there will be some classes that will be held in the evening, I'm sure by requirement.
I could add a little bit to that. So there's a large practical side of air traffic control training. The process in itself is very similar to pilot training, and because of the limitations of the practical or under instruction in the field requirements to completing the license certification, there's a one-on-one component, and there's limited capability because you have to spend, or the student has to spend, a significant amount of time actually controlling traffic under the instruction of a certified controller and certified instructor. So for the most part, it'll be during the daytime. The classes will be it's kind of an all-day, every-day kind of environment, and they'll spend quite a bit of time in the towers. And there will be some evening requirements too, but it's largely affected around when air traffic is, or at peak times for air traffic at the tower at our airport and any other airport that joins in.
What about a cost? Is there a cost going to be associated with it?
There is a cost. That number's still being worked.
That's okay.
So we don't really
curious.
know what the tuition will be at this time.
So whenever you guys launch it, make sure that you come back and let us know so we can help you guys get some folks.
Thank you. Ms. Miller?
You might have reviewed this. I'm just trying to put it together for adult students that would ask, they're going to the Bartow Air Base for these classes, or are they going to Ridge and Travis for the classes and then scheduling?
That will be held at the Bartow Airfield.
So it's almost a satellite adult school class.
Similar to, we have aviation mechanic at the Lakeland Linder
Yes.
Airfield.
Okay.
Same situation.
Okay, so we're bringing the students to the airfield. Thank you.
Madam Chair, board members, any other questions? Yes.
Ms. Fields, are you interested in participating in this class? It sounded like you may be looking to sign up. I just want to highlight a little bit, and I know the three of us were in the best class ever for Leadership Polk, which was class 15. And one of the things that we learned is that Bartow has the third oldest air traffic control tower.
The oldest.
The oldest, I'm sorry, air traffic.
In the United States.
Control tower in the United States. And it's one of few that is managed by you all, is that correct? Is that play into being able to do these classes, or is that something that any air traffic control site could sign on to?
No, that's a key detail. Federal control towers and federal contract towers, you wouldn't be able to have the private training aspect. They have to be designated by the FAA as a training facility, and then at FAA towers, they are only authorized to train FAA students. So there's only a handful, I don't know the exact number across the country of non-federal control towers, and ours being one of only 2. So yeah, that's a key detail. It makes without that, we wouldn't be able to move this forward.
Yeah, that's a really big deal, and I think it's exciting, and thank you for bringing this to Polk, because it's not something that you're going to see everywhere else, even if they wanted to have it. So thank you.
I just want to add, it is the oldest in the United States, but John maintains it well.
We try.
Madam Chair, board members, any other questions? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Cochran. Thank you, John. Thank you for your partnership.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Green.
Madam Chair, if it pleases the board, we'll take a 5-minute break before we transition to school improvement plans.
Thank you so much. right, and we are back, and I will turn it back over to Deputy Superintendent Green.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Next up, we have Pat Barnes, who's going to come forward, and she's going to share with us information regarding our school improvement plans.
Good morning.
It's always great to come and give you compliance updates. So I just need to really share with you that your school improvement plans or the school improvement plans for the district are all loaded. They have been submitted to the state. They are looking at certain plans right now, those that are considered CSI, comprehensive support plans. Those would be represented by the 7 schools that are going to be our top schools this year. Right now, they're locked. However, for you, all you have to do is just go into SIM, really just email me and tell me which ones you want, and I can either open it for you or print off a copy for you. The timeline for the Bureau of School Improvement says that we must at least come before the board and let you know that they have been designed, that they are available for you to review, and then by November 15th, there has to be an official vote that you've seen them, read them, and if you had any questions, we would take care of that at that time. So I'm here to let you know that they've all been done, and they're all out there ready for you. And I'll entertain any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Barnes. Madam Chair, board members, any questions for Ms. Barnes regarding our submission of school improvement plans? Yes, Dr. Allen.
There. Sorry for my lateness. I was curious, there was some conversation in regards to connecting that strategic plan with the school improvement plans. And do we see any major changes in regards to moving some of those strat plan elements into the school improvement, or are we going to see that next go round?
You're probably going to see it next go around. There wasn't the push for that in those that I saw this year. The only change that you will really see this year is there is a RAISE, R-A-I-S-E, the acronym, but it is a reading goal for elementary schools, and that is required now. If a school did not have at least 50% proficiency in ELA in grades 3, 4, and 5, then they had to submit a RAISE goal. So you could have 50% in grades 4 and 5. You only had to submit the goal for 3, grade 3. But if you were lacking in all 3, you had to submit for each. That was the only major change that was in the school improvement plan this year.
I'd like to add that Dr. Allen, as part of our initiatives to kind of align our strategic plan and school improvement plans, we had Yumini Berrien and Matt Campese, who are our senior directors for school improvement. They provided training at the Superintendent's Leadership Academy on alignment of our strategic plans to school improvement plans. And so that initial trainings have already occurred for our principals. That way, moving forward, we'll make sure that we do have that alignment.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Any other questions for Ms. Barnes? Yes, Madam Chair.
Sorry, I have one more. Are we going to need to present these to DOE at any point?
So they are always available for DOE because they're on the website, so they are actually being reviewed now.
Okay.
The regionals reviewed them for each of their schools ahead of time. Pretty much we did a comprehensive plan. They're very uniform, just specific to the needs of certain schools, but they are looking in them. I will tell you that most likely they're not looking at all of them, just the CSI ones right now.
And I apologize, I should have phrased that better. Are we going to have to go to physically present to
That'll be
to
my
DOE
next
at any-
presentation.
Okay.
That'll be the top.
Okay.
This is just school improvement
Gotcha.
plans, but the answer will be yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Madam Chair, board members, any other questions for Ms. Barnes? Thank you, Ms. Barnes.
Thank you.
Next, we'll have policy updates. And coming forward, we'll have Ms. Wendy Dodge.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Your favorite time of the day, policy updates. Before you today, we have kind of two series of updates. The first three are selection and adoption of instructional materials, which is a current policy, instructional materials program, which is a brand new policy, and then challenges to adoption or use of instructional library reading list materials, which is also a new policy. As an explanation, when we first moved to the Neola system of adopting policies, the staff that were in place at the time over instructional materials had recommended, even though Neola had two policies, they had recommended smashing them together into one policy. And at the time, that made sense for us. But with all the changes that have been made in statute over the few years and the new changes that were made last year regarding challenges, Neola has recommended and staff has now approved separating those back out so that they are separate topics. They're easier, they're more transparent, easier for the average citizen to find and look through and understand what we're doing. And then, of course, we have to adopt the new challenges policy, which aligns with what we've done this year in terms of reviewing instructional materials. And then the last two policies are also a result of statutory changes that have been made over the past two sessions. However, because they've been such significant changes, Neola had recommended and staff approved completely deleting our current policy and then rewriting it instead of trying to insert and take things out and put things back in. That it was such a big change that they recommended deleting the current policy, and so the new policy that you see is a replacement policy, and that's why all the language looks brand new. Some of it is going to be included in the old policy, but it has removed any of the prohibited activities regarding our unique students with unique abilities. So are there any questions?
Ms. Miller?
I assume this is yes. I just want to confirm that with this new legislation on restraint and seclusion, we have trained this all the way down to the sites. I see Tammy Castle shaking her head.
Mm-hmm. If Tammy says yes, it's yes.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, board members, Dr. Allen?
Great, thanks, Dr. Green. Maybe a couple questions as we move forward with these. Obviously, they're going to come back to us to vote down the way.
That's correct.
Do you feel we've got adequate feedback, as we push these around to, different divisions, good feedback, and we're comfortable with where they're at?
I feel that way. We included as many areas and departments and people who have been involved in the process as we could. Mr. Hyde himself was involved in the first three. So I feel really good about where we are in terms of making sure that it matches our way of work.
Awesome. Great. I did want to go through a couple of them and just had a couple questions as well. So looking at the selection and adoption of instructional materials, and it was number 2 out of 5. We were adding underneath the procedure component, each elementary school must publish on its website in a searchable format a list of all materials maintained in the. I was wondering how, I know our system is way more advanced, right? So because pretty much all schools across the board, elementary, middle, and high school, that database is present. Would you agree? So I'm looking at that, it just says each elementary school must publish on its website. So I was
So that's a statutory requirement that
Yeah.
each elementary school, I think we're going far beyond that as a
Exactly.
district. And I know that Mr. Geary's department over the summer worked very hard to make sure that we met that requirement by July 1st.
Okay. And then I was just wondering, switching over to the new instructional materials program, that one, some of the first language that's added in green, it says the board may comma, but is not required to, comma. Seems that if you have the language may, it would, in essence, already say that's not required. So I was wondering on that, just the clause may, does it, and that may be a Wes question.
So that was language that was requested to clarify what we were doing, because it dealt with parents and
Sure.
making sure that we were real clear about when we were going to have a contract with a parent over something like that. So that's what that was about.
Okay. I'm sure if anybody else has thoughts, they can add to that. Let's see, I think that was it on that one. I might have a couple more, so if you give me a moment.
Sure.
And I think, you know, just because we've just recently gone through this process, and make sure that if we're making adjustments, that it's conducive to what we've seen and experienced moving ahead. And I think when it came down to, once the complaint is filed in regards to the appeal, like if there's an appeal, I was looking for that language specifically, that was in the new policy. Maybe describe the hearing officer section, and this would be the volume 23, number 1 revisions.
I'm sorry, you said the bottom.
Yeah, so do we always have only one hearing officer?
Can you tell me, I know you're in the procedures for hearings section, can you tell me which page you're
Well,
on?
so now I've moved over to it's the new policy, volume 23, number 1.
Challenges?
Yeah.
Okay.
And underneath the hearing officers section, do we typically only have one person that does that?
I'm going to ask for assistance with that question.
Yeah, and I guess, so if you look at under hearing officer, the first paragraph, last sentence, it says hearing officers shall be selected annually by the board from a list of candidates provided by the superintendent. So I just want to bring that to attention as well. I'm only a year and 9 months in, and I don't think that that's ever been a part of that in my short time. So just wanted to just seek some clarification on that. Is that something that we should be looking at each year, that we've designated a hearing officer each year? Does it change?
Through Dr. Allen, one of the things, we can get farther clarification on that. I know that with our student services, specialized services, Brett Butler, that we typically have had one hearing officer, but I'll follow up and we'll get further information to you and we'll get clarification.
That's great, Dr. Rain. Thank you so much on that. And then just moving on deeper into the that policy, as we get down to the appeals process for objections to material used in classrooms made available. Letter E, it just says the complainant may appeal this decision within 30, and then the parenthetical, it says 15 days.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's just
a Scribner's error on my part.
Yep.
It's supposed to be 15 business days.
Okay. All right. If we can maybe adjust that. And I just want to make sure that this is, like, if we have to go through this again, we are being attentive to this. And obviously, we went way beyond what our current policy states. But especially when it comes to the appeal process, I would recommend that we add something there that it must go, like if there is an appeal to the decision, that it must come to the board, meaning, because I think the way the policy reads is when you have an appeal that goes through that's appealing the superintendent's recommendation, then it has to go to the board as a vote.
I think that's what the E we were talking to says, that you appeal the decision within 15 business days to the board through a written request to the superintendent, who forwards it and all related materials to the board. So does that clarify it?
Yeah, and I just want to make sure that we're abiding by what that policy would be as we move forward. You know, because if you have an entity that is going through that appeal process, then and just to seek clarification on that really is once it goes through the appeal, it then comes to the board to then vote on the decision, right? Okay. All right, those were my just brief comments.
Would you like
and thoughts.
Mr. McNaughton to clarify that for you,
Yeah,
please?
that'd be awesome. Thank you. Thanks, Dr. Green.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And one of the things when we were working with Ms. Dodge and Superintendent Hyde on this was to go ahead not only to look at what has been last year, what we've learned, and to go through and put this in policy, but also put it into procedures. So what's going to be following with the adoption of these new policies in Neola is to actually make procedure module materials. So we actually have a common practice for this. So when we go through, the forms will be there, everything will be consistent. So we have that, our procedures match our policy to make systems, so.
That's a good thing.
Kind of a lessons learned.
It is definitely a lessons learned, so.
Indeed, absolutely.
Madam Chair?
I just have a quick question because it's come up in some other districts. So this year, when we obviously waited until the complaint came forward to appoint the committee, some other districts have moved to create a standing committee, and then when complaints come forward, the committee already exists, so there's no chance of the bias one way or another. Is that something that we would look to or that you would recommend either way, which would be?
This is something we can look into what other districts are doing. And again, it's always lessons learned and trying to go ahead and improve in our procedures.
Okay, thank you.
If I could add to that, please. I think one of the things that we're trying to do with our committees are make sure that they are content specific. And so when you have a standing committee, it either has to be really big to make sure all content areas are taken care of, or you can, based on what the challenge is, then you can have the expertise there that you need.
Perfect,
So
thank
that's
you.
probably the
That's a
difference.
helpful explanation, thank you.
Yeah, that's good.
Madam Chair, board members, any more questions for Ms. Dodge?
That was it. Good to see you.
Thank you, Ms. Dodge. Thank you, Mr. McNaughton. Madam Chair, next on the agenda, we have staffing updates. Mr. Pitts?
Good morning, esteemed board members. And Mr. Green is doing such a fantastic job today.
Yeah.
You are really doing a good job. Thank you
I was
for
saying,
stepping
you get to
up.
do it next
I
time,
appreciate you
so.
stepping up to the plate there. Just have a couple of staffing recommendations that we want to bring to you today. And then I want to go over the non-union salary schedules and kind of talk through that. We are recommending that we bring back our planning director for the facilities department. Back when the recession hit in 2008, we were not building new buildings. And so quite a lot of staff had been realigned in. But it looks like we're going to be building schools for quite a while, and it would be nice to have that planning director come back. So that's the first position that we're recommending to bring back. Can you see my screen? Can you get the?
Can see your picture.
You see the picture?
You look just like Tom Selleck.
Oh. No. Yes, and I sent, in the attachment to this board workshop item, says that the planning director is responsible for the major components vital to district operations, including the Department of Education. This job responsibilities would have to do real estate, school concurrency, capital planning, portables, and
intergovernmental coordination. Judd?
We'd have to put this into a PowerPoint to get it up there.
Okay. I also sent everyone an email, because I realized last night when I was preparing for this morning that I didn't add this attachment. So there's one attachment that summarizes the other attachments that were there.
Just for the public's information, those things are already happening now. They're just being compiled onto someone else's job description and duties.
And that's correct. And typically, we try to only do these reorg or adding positions once a year. But we're moving very quickly with the new strategic plan, and we're trying to solve issues quicker than waiting until next spring. Ms. Wyatt?
Thank you. I'm excited for the planning position. I think this is something that is long overdue since it went away during the recession. And to Ms. Miller's point, it's happening, but it's not all happening by one person. It's kind of happening collectively by the department, and it really is huge to be able to have one person with all of that institutional knowledge that really can work. They know what the left hand knows what the right hand's doing. Is great. I know one of the things that's come up a lot is school concurrency, so I'm hopeful that this person can maybe do a little bit deeper dive. And we keep hearing from Tallahassee and around the state that there may be some other options that we have for concurrency, so being able to look into that a little bit deeper and see how we can affect some positive change.
Yes.
Thank you.
Ms. Cunningham?
Thank you. I just want to commend you, Superintendent Hyde, Assistant Superintendent Green, and staff, because there comes a point at which you have to address staffing needs for us to continue to move forward and do the goals and objectives that we set forth in our strategic plan. And a key component of that, of course, is money and the resources. You can have all the great tools you have, but if you don't have the right people in the right seats, you're not going to get very far. So I'm just really happy that we're finally getting back to saying, if there's a deficit in some resources that we need, the planning director, there's others here, 3 or 4 that I've read. It's really important that you don't wait until the next time we do our staffing allocations, but you come to the board and we move accordingly. So I just want to say thank you for being proactive instead of waiting until we're drowning to come try to look for additional resources as needed, because we are continuing to grow, and I personally don't see any trend where that would be going down anytime soon, particularly on the east side of the county with the amount of growth that we're experiencing there. So kudos to you and the team for bringing this forward, and I look forward to supporting it. Thank you.
Couple other positions that you have before you have to do with, one of them has to do with Head Start.
Yep.
We actually had come back in May and presented adding some positions to Head Start because we were getting rid of a contract that we had through the Florida Department of Health. And we're going to perform those services with these staff. And Head Start had, I think just even the last work session had mentioned these positions. So it's just reallocating the contract services to personnel. And I just wanted to make sure we had formally captured this, because you've seen it a couple times, but I just wanted to bring it back one more time. And the other position request that we have before you, and I know you can't see my screen, but.
Sorry. Dr. Allen had a question about the Head Start position.
Oh, okay.
I know we got that attachment. I'm not sure the time. I didn't really look at the timestamp, but I did have a chance to move through it. And you alluded to it just now, but just for sake of transparency, it'd be great to note that, because if I looked at that matrix, I believe the contracted services that we eliminated was approximately $408,000, something in that range. You can
$402,000.
Okay, you can be more precise, thank you. But maybe speak to that. So, I mean, that's a great thing as far as cost savings to the district, and then how we allocate it to refocus on that.
All right, let me give you a summary of that here. Okay, so the positions that we're going to recommend be added is a family engagement liaison. They reach out to parents in the community. We have a senior manager for disabilities will be added, a senior manager for VPK, Title I will be added, a senior manager for operations will be added, and a health advocate for the Head Start will be added. So those comprise the $402,000 that we gave up with the contract.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
And the only other position recommendation that's in front of you is to upgrade our director of ESOL to a senior director. This would bring that position in line with peers that have similar duties. That will add $20,000 in total cost, which will be funded out of Title III. So in summary, the positions that we have before you today. Now, until this point, we had a savings in our general fund coming forward. We had about $1.5 million that we started with getting rid of some contracts for turnaround and some of the other position changes. So up until today, the general fund had a savings of $494,000 in summary of what we've brought forward. Now, the director of planning will come out of general fund. Total cost for that's $107,000. So the savings is still about $360,000 going into this budget. The Head Start positions will be funded out of Head Start, no effect on the general fund. Forgot one more position. I saw it on my summary. We are going to add a senior coordinator, an internal audit position for federal programs. We've got a ton of projects going on through ESSER. They all have timelines on what needs to be finished so we can finish on time. And Mr. Baldwin could really use an auditing position just to make sure we've got all of our I's dotted and T's crossed. But that will come out of ESSER funding, so no effect. That was submitted to you in the several attachments before today, but I just added that summary document. Now, I want to talk about non-union salary schedules. I know I can't show them up on the screen here, but there's some significant changes to our salary schedules this year. I just kind of want to talk through this so the employees that are watching can kind of understand what's going on with their salaries. So in general, all the non-union staff received at least a 2% pay increase. We raised all the levels 1%, and then we are giving staff that were here by July 1st a step. So that equals 2%. That's generally what's happening in all of these schedules. The principals, we gave them a 1% increase on their schedule and moving 2 steps. So principals will be receiving a 3% increase for this year. However, with the state mandated $15 an hour, on our lower schedules, lower pay grade schedules, there's some very significant changes. The folks that were at the bottom of those pay scales, to bring them up to $15 an hour will be like a 30% increase. So when staff will see these salary schedules posted out on the web, it's going to appear like we are favoring one group over the other. We just don't have funds to move everybody 30%. So compression is going to be with us for a while. I really think these professional technical salary schedules need to be redesigned. When you look at them, most of them have like 50 steps that nobody will ever reach 50 steps. So over the next few months, as we head into staffing for next year, we're going to redesign these professional technical salary schedules. The only other note to that is our managers, coordinators who are on a salary schedule, 8 or 19, and senior coordinators and senior managers, as we've given unions a little more of, they've had more raises over the years than our professional technical staff. And we're starting to see salaries encroach. So some of these coordinators and senior managers are making less than folks that they supervise. So those two levels this year will receive a 7% increase on their pay to try to adjust, to try to reflect that. It may not solve all of our issues, but when we go into the spring staffing, we'll address that even more. So when folks see this later today, I just wanted to let everyone know that we know compression. We know it's going to look unfair that some folks are receiving a higher pay raise than others. But lack of funds, we just couldn't move everyone proportionately.
Ms. Miller?
We've talked in the past about steps and levels and the difference and how steps used to work and how people assumed that they were still kind of behind because they hadn't been given the steps. Is there somewhere that we provide a description? Because we've had the conversation that steps as they were written years ago, maybe when people started working here, the way we're funded and how we're changing positions, we're no longer adhering to that. But we are going to try to make a difference in a different area. It's hard for me to understand when we're just talking, and so I know it is for employees that may have been hired 10 years ago and said, I'm still waiting on 6 steps. Do we have something that we can put out for them to help explain that?
Yeah, we're going to put out a video, actually, to...
You're starring in a
Yes.
video?
Tom Selleck, right?
My doppelganger, yes. But, we are going to put out a video to explain all this. And you're correct, before 2007, funding only went up.
Right.
And so we had to do away with those annual step increases as we lost those funding over the years.
And I think sometimes employees, we didn't make that clear to them, so they're holding on to, I'm 6 steps behind, but this person's getting a 30% increase. So I think having that video to show this is the new funding mechanism, or this is how we're going to try to work with compression, will help just with morale, because it looks bad to them, and they're still following the charts from 2007.
Yeah, we'll have that out within 2 weeks, the
Thank
video.
you.
Madam Chair?
Have we already, as you talk about the video, have we already worked on the script for that and have it ready to go, or is that something that's to come?
No.
I just would encourage you to have the union as part of that, just to get feedback from, does this make sense? Because I know we often get in our own language, and I need somebody else to tell me. I don't know any of the acronyms you just said. So I would love to see them at the table for helping create that.
Yeah, and both unions have been great this year, because each union kind of saw quite a few more changes than they normally would see, and they always do a great job helping us communicate that.
Thank you.
Ms. Fields?
I think it's going to be very critical that we get the message out and make sure that it's simple and easy to understand, because there is a perception that we are favoring some groups over others, and that is not a perception that any of us want to have. So when that is done, I would really appreciate it if we make it clear, and the compression issue, that we're really trying to resolve that so that everybody can have equity based on what they're doing as it relates to their duties. I hope that makes sense.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Madam Chair, board members, any more questions for Mr. Pitts regarding our staffing updates? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, we're going to keep moving with our agenda. We next have up Ms. Pat Barnes, turnaround plans.
Welcome back.
Good morning again, and hopefully we could be brief. Just to bring everyone up to speed on where we currently stand as a district. we've made tremendous progress within our turnaround schools, and we had much to celebrate. 2 years ago, we had 6 schools make it off. This past year, we had 7. We really have 8. I'm going to always say that. The state's still sitting there waiting on Laurel, but they made it. So we hope to hear from them soon. But in the process, we now have a new list. With last year, and for the last 3 years, you know, we only had 1 school on a top plan, and that school was Griffin Elementary. Everyone else had a single D, and they were governed by their school improvement plan. I also want to just take a second to say that even though during the 2021 school year, we tested, you could opt in. In most schools, if you made progress, you took that. But the state still used your score as baseline. So we had a lot of schools, really, that may have been sitting on a 40% from 3 years ago that really were at a 25%. So I say that to say that this past year, we had technically 8 F schools. Now, they came out, all of them, and we are really appreciative of that. I just want to share with you that was the baseline. Currently, we have 7 top schools, and so I'm here to talk to you about them. The plans, yes, Madam Chair, we will be representing Polk County, Mr. Hyde and myself, and whomever, and you, and whomever else, at the state board meeting in October when we will present those 7 plans. They have been written. We used a comprehensive measure. Basically, the plan calls for general information, and we wanted to showcase what we're doing for all of our schools. And we have a lot of new initiatives that we've put in place. You've heard about them. We've got our interventions for reading and math, our corrective reading and number world, so that's in for our schools. We had some scheduling audits. We've got a lot packed into it. I have no doubt that the plans will be approved, but we have to present them to the school board, which we put drafts on them just to let you know that they are in progress, so that I can get the final ones for Mr. Hyde's signature. They are due October 1st, and then at such time, the state will have them before we get there, and we will get 5 minutes per school to defend them. It is the process. We will adhere to the process. I don't foresee that we would have any concerns, but I'm here to answer any questions that you might have regarding them or even the process.
Okay. Madam Chair, board members, any questions for Ms. Barnes regarding our turnaround plans? Madam Chair?
That's the October 19th meeting, is that correct?
16th or I think it's 16th or the 19th.
Okay.
Is that week.
Just making sure it's on my calendar. Thank you.
Yes, I will say that there are 2 dates actually, and maybe they're trying to condense them, but we have that 1 date. Great.
Okay. Seeing none, thank you, Ms. Barnes.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I know Superintendent Hyde has shared a lot about what we're doing to ensure that we have no DNF schools in Polk County. I'd like to add that this past Friday, our senior directors from teaching and learning for both math and ELA led groups that included our regional superintendents and our senior directors for school improvement, our senior coordinators. They were all out at the Lake Hamilton warehouse where they wore jeans, T-shirts, and sneakers. They unpacked, I think, somewhere in the 50 pallets of books for interventions to ensure that what we call our soft schools. Those are our most needy schools, including the 7 schools that are in turnaround that Ms. Barnes was just speaking of. They delivered materials, they unpacked materials, they got them together because we did diagnostic testing of kids that were struggling readers and struggling in computing mathematics through the last month or so. They unpacked those materials. In most cases, they delivered those materials to ensure that we met the superintendent's timeline, which was for those schools to start intervention instruction this week. And I'm pleased to say that all of those schools have their materials and they will start. We'll be moving on to other schools that we have tiered schools. We'll be moving on to our second tier in doing that. But I want to thank them publicly for their work. I understand that several of them were saying they had some back issues over the weekend. They had to do some lying down and get some massages, but they worked beyond their responsibilities to make sure that our schools and that our students were receiving the materials and what they need so that we can make sure that they are reading at grade level and computing mathematics at grade level. With that said, Madam Chair, that concludes the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Deputy Superintendent Green. You're doing a great job today. We appreciate you. For the rest of our work session, we have some information items. Are there any questions on the information items from anyone else? Okay, I have one, and I think Candy Amato was nearby. I prepped her with a phone call last week that when I was a little bit heated, so I've calmed down since then. The Polk Pre-Collegiate Academy charter contract modification, it's a location modification, and there was some history with this last year that we discussed in depth. But the last information we got, I believe they only had less than 20 students enrolled.
Correct. As of yesterday, when I pulled the information, they have 16 students currently enrolled.
Okay, so that's even down from, because it was 18, I think, last week.
Yes.
At what point do we have the legal authority to be concerned and to look into making sure that they're
So the charter office does have open communication with, they have hired a management company, so I've been working closely with the management company. I did ask them for some information to share with you all in case there were questions. So they had a ton of challenges by relocating and moving. They were not in their spot until literally a week before school or two. So we worked with them to ensure they had all their inspections. So they overcame their challenges of finding a location. They've cleared all their inspections, their fingerprinting. They are working on recruiting staff, which is a task regardless where we are at this point. And they are deploying a marketing plan to try to recruit and bring back homeschooled students for that Polk Pre-Collegiate program. So they do realize that they are, they have some challenges that they haven't met, but they were happy once they've established a location. They felt then they could move on to their next challenges of finding students. In regards to what can we do as a district besides continue to have open lines of communication, at the beginning of July of '22, they started their fund balance with $603,000. So financially, they are sitting pretty comfortably. They're stable. They have a nice, healthy fund balance. They are a high-performing school, so they only submit their financials to us quarterly, so we don't get temperature checks every month like we do with some of our schools. September 30th is the end of the first quarter. We will not receive that financial statement until the end of October. It gives them a month to clear things up. However, at the end of September, we will receive their financial audit for the previous school year. And we collaborate with Heather Jenkins and her team in regards to what their financial looks like. Are they in deteriorating financial conditions? And if so, we then follow the statute 1002.34, which outlines everything that we have to do. And that includes working with them to create a corrective action plan. And depending on the state of the emergency, that can take up to a year.
Okay, but that's something that we have our eyes on, and as soon as we see that there's a deteriorating.
Correct. And Ms. Jenkins can correct me if I'm wrong, but we are only paying them on their students that are enrolled. So obviously, as of last count, they were only receiving their payments on 18 students instead of the 55 students that they anticipated.
I would say the 55 is what it was budgeted for this year.
Correct. So we are not paying them on the 55. We are only paying them on the 18.
But their budget was based on the 55.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Mr.
I think
Burgess.
Ms. Amato has been very conscientious about comprehensive communication with the school about those sorts of concerns. For board members who have been on the board for a shorter period of time, money is where the rubber meets the road for charter schools. And they exist in a happy place until the money runs out. So I think Ms. Amato is correct. Their budget right now is in relatively good shape. And as long as that happens, Ms. Amato is in constant contact with them and expressing whatever concerns are arising. We should be in good shape. But if at such time as the money dries up, that is when you have a serious problem.
We don't have to wait until the money dries
No,
up, though,
she-
right?
and-
The deteriorating, okay,
What I'm
that
trying
was
to
my
point out
question.
is that Ms. Amato has been in steady communication with the school, raising those sorts of issues. So they are, that's not going to be catching anyone by surprise.
No, she's a rock star. I just wanted, I've more so wanted to make sure we were having the conversation here that it's a concern and we know that we're watching it.
And the charter office has relocated, so literally J.D. Fout and Damon Boggs and Heather are literally a stone from my office, so we visit each other frequently.
And I can assure you that anytime Ms. Amato has angst, she shares it amply with my office.
Yeah. Awesome. Ms. Miller.
Just a quick question. 16 total students for those 2 grades, and they have certified teachers for all subjects for 16 students. I mean, are they communicating? Because, okay, in a district school, if we have people teaching out of field, we communicate that with students. I just want to make sure, I know they're trying to do the best they can and trying to recover from this move. I just want to make sure the communication with the parents would be equally the same, so the parents understand that they are in this regrouping process, but the staff employed there are certified in all subject matters to teach.
They are working on getting their staffing, and they actually have indicated additional staff members are being recruited, hired, and undergoing background checks. In addition, these staff members have committed to pursuing dual certification to allow greater flexibility in scheduling a small school. And
Okay.
that's coming directly from the school.
Okay, great, thank you.
Anyone else have any questions? Thank you, Ms. Mata. Thank you. Get back to the right tab. All right, and do we have any board member comments for the work session? Ms. Cunningham.
Thank you, Ms. Wyatt. I was just wondering, what is the status of our employee evaluations?
I am so glad you asked, because that is on my list. I am
Okay.
still waiting for a couple employee evaluations. The one making a face, maybe one of the ones that I'm waiting on. But so as soon as I get in those evaluations, I can complete them with our staff. So if you could get them to me as soon as possible, like
I think we need to
yesterday.
put a deadline on that, please,
by-
out of respect.
by Friday at the absolute latest.
And then you will schedule.
And then I will schedule the meeting.
Schedule accordingly.
Yes, ma'am.
Next week, hopefully, to
Yes,
be
ma'am.
able to do, okay.
It will
So-
likely be the first or second week in October to meet with them, but it'll be before our next meeting, just with our schedules. Fred and I've already talked to Superintendent Hyde and our staff.
Okay, I just think,
I'm just
you know,
out next week, so.
Yeah, okay. I just think that's something that's really important, and if I would like to suggest that you set those dates with our employees so that they know when that is and that it's forthcoming.
Yes.
Because that's treating our employees with respect, particularly because we were asked to provide them, several weeks back. So, okay, thank you, Ms. Wyatt.
Thank you. Any other comments? Any updates from any of your committees or liaison positions? Nope. You guys are a quiet group today. All right, we are going to take a 30-minute break. Are you good with that? We're going to take a 30-minute break before, this will be the end of our work session. However, we do have and I would have to look at exactly what we're calling it, a special work session that will begin in 30 minutes. So at 12:48, I will see you all
Can we
back
say
here.
1 o'clock?
I'm sorry, it will be at 1.
Can we do 1? Okay.
It will be at 1 o'clock.
Because we advertised it at 1.
Thank you.